Outside the school, what should students do to protect themselves when facing the supernatural? According to the female teacher, a door suddenly opened. Let's welcome a member of the Crimson Squad to explain things to us. The person who entered was a tall young man with slightly curled hair at the ends. His name was Truong Kai Bao. The classroom atmosphere immediately stirred with the arrival of this fresh breeze. I heard the squad members are all super-level psychics. Oh, if I could awaken psychic powers, I'd want to join too. Sitting by the window, Vuongdeep showed no change in expression. Thinking psychic organization. In my past life, I was an ordinary person trying to become an A-rank member of the hunting squad living again. Didn't expect to return as an ordinary person. But if I don't follow the past life's path now and change to another city to study, can I still survive? At the moment, Vuongdeep was deep in thought. A loud voice cut through his mind. Since eternal night, some random ghosts have appeared in the world. Truong Kai started lecturing. Their appearance caused a series of supernatural incidents. He continued to explain how they harm humans for some reason. The enclosed room began to experience disturbances. His sharp eyes glanced toward the source of a strange light. An explosion rocked the lecture hall. Crackle, 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 a dense spherical barrier was erected. It emitted red lightning bolts that looked extremely terrifying. The students panicked, shouting, "What's happening? What's going on?" Vuongdeep was also unsettled by the scene. Could it be? Understanding the students' panic and curiosity, the Crimson Squad member remained calm and began to explain. That's right. The phenomenon we're encountering now is a supernatural event. Without realizing when Vuongdeep had moved closer to Truong Kai and continued, this ghost can alter the real-world conditions. Midway, a drop of dark red liquid fell from the ceiling to the floor, making a clear drip sound. Even so, he calmly continued the conversation. The range of the magnetic field coverage is still unclear. Now only Vuongdeep and Truong Kai stood in the room. No one has died yet, temporarily ruling out mass slaughter. Without rules, everyone panics and flees as if suffering from occupational disease. Vuongdeep was deeply analyzing the unclear slaughter tactics. Based on the current living conditions of teachers and students, the ghost's slaughter efficiency isn't high. Hearing this, Truong Kai gradually grew suspicious. Why is this kid just a student so calm and experienced? Ignoring that wasteful thought, Truong Kai began to move. Turning his head, he told him, "Follow me closely." Vuongdeep didn't reply, but his confident expression clearly showed he wouldn't refuse. In the blood-tinted dark hallway, someone considered a veteran by others hurriedly ran away. After moving for a while in the dark corridor, Vuongdeep and Truong Kai encountered some students wearing mysterious cloaks. He saw their headless panic and despised them deeply. Yeah, idiots who don't even watch supplementary knowledge on TV. It's the early awakening period. Normal people still don't know how to survive. He fell back into thought, currently unaware of the ghost's slaughter rules. Then slowly he raised his eyes to observe the environment. Many people gathered. After all, there was something meeting the conditions. If someone in the group ascends and causes a crisis, Vuongdeep followed the Crimson Squad member, gliding past the people drowning in anxiety and fear. That would only add more chaos, leading to more ascending. If that ghost is the type that can mature, he finally reached a dark conclusion about the fate of the people here. These people are basically nutrients for the ghost. No wonder. Truong Kai said, "They are dragging their own feet." Both used the emergency staircase, walking steadily step by step. Suddenly they halted because a crackling sound in the silent space made it even angrier. Vuongdeep gave a questioning sound before Truong Kai suddenly cursed, "Damn it." When he followed the Crimson Squad member's gaze, he was also stunned. There, a strange black gas with a red glow was rising, lurking among them, giving the impression of a mischievous smile. A green light flashed in Truong Kai's eyes. He quickly ordered to unleash his psychic powers. Midway, he was stopped by Wang Di. "I advise you not to use your powers so many times. It will cause your body to collapse even faster." At this moment, the Tin Hong suddenly realized the presence of someone behind him with great surprise, someone who could follow him through such a dark space. He proved himself worthy of being a member of the psychic organization by quickly regaining a natural expression without revealing any weakness. But now the pursuit has lost the trail here. "Do you have any ideas?" Wang Di calmly replied, bit by bit. "Ghosts can alter magnetic fields affecting reality. At this moment, it's impossible to tell if the staircase is changed by magnetic fields or just an illusion. If it's only an illusion, it means this ghost's level is not high." Zhang Kai's body fully facing him showed he was truly focused on the conversation. The method to check is very simple. The magnetic field formed by a ghost can transform and invade almost everything, but only one thing cannot be explained away. The Tin Hong quickly caught the key point. He removed the ring on his left hand, which was made of gold. The feeling of loss made Zhang Kai unable to hold back his curses. Then he decisively threw the shiny ring high up. Do these ghosts even know how expensive gold is now? Wang Di was amused by this scene. It seemed this ghost only created illusions. Both of them looked up and witnessed the mysterious phenomenon of the ring, an inanimate object floating suspended in midair. He carefully observed and concluded it cannot change the actual state of the staircase. Apparently no longer wanting to care, Zhang Kai smirked sarcastically as he took a step forward. If this ghost's power is limited to this, then this matter is much easier. However, Wang Di still stood there, even uttering a cryptic sentence. If you do that, I might think I chose the wrong partner. But a loud bell suddenly rang, forcing him to stop. Wang Di continued his initial point. The slaughter rule of the current ghost is still unclear. Furthermore, although Wang could verify this is an illusion, whether only Wang is unaffected or not remains unconfirmed. He gradually approached the opponent, more his pupils like red moons reflecting the image of the Tin Hong, as if seeing through everything. Finally, the two cooperated. I could serve as the test target, but to show sincerity, he should say, "Show me your psychic power." Zhang Kai replied vaguely, "I admit you're right." Then his expression and gaze shifted to annoyance, but his sarcasm made me feel angry. The two fell into silence eye to eye, and in the end he had to concede to Wang Di's stubbornness, reluctantly providing information. Zhang Kai's awakened psychic ability in his eyes can exploit two types of powers. Under normal conditions, he can trace the origin and tracks of ghosts, and can repel ghosts for a short time. Yes, Wang Di focused on listening silently, analyzing that the awakened skills were all supportive types. Why do you think so? He quickly overtook Zhang Kai, busy loosening his tie, eyes fixed straight ahead. All right, now it's my turn to act. The Tin Hong followed that proud back. Meanwhile, Wang Di continued to command, "Take position, I'll step on it. If I suddenly fall, be ready to pull me up any time." Such a bold, reckless behavior, fearless of himself, made Zhang Kai gape. This kid is clearly just a normal person. So why do I feel as safe as if the captain himself was here? Red fluid dripped from the ceiling into the small gaps between the tiles, but the two of them were not afraid, slowly moving forward amid the stench-filled scene. The Tin Hong, who had obediently followed behind until now, suddenly stopped him. "Stop. I can feel the ghost aura on this floor is extremely dense." He pointed to a slightly ajar door inside, emanating a strange blue light. "Let's go to that room." This time it was Wang Di who stopped him. "Wait, use your psychic power to scan around." Zhang Kai suddenly snapped at the other's overly casual attitude. "Do you think my eyes are flashlights?" He seemed indifferent, secretly thinking, "Aren't they?" The Tin Hong calmed his emotions, returning to a professional demeanor. "All right." He then adjusted his eye skill, flashing a mysterious blue gleam, but then his sharp eyes opened wide again, looking extremely scared. "This is," he shouted, "a mummified corpse." Wang Di frowned and quickly reminded, "Observe carefully the movements when they left." Following the student's advice, he widened his eyes further, the red veins and the whites swelling. They are touching their own necks. Indeed, the mummified corpses lying on the ground were touching their own necks in a strange way. Before Zhang Kai looked at the dozens of bodies lying on the ground in horror, "Why are they making this gesture?" Wang Ye looked up at the ceiling where liquid was dripping to the floor and said, "It's water." Zhang Kai looked up curiously. "Water?" Wang Ye's expression turned serious. "I can only think that a drop of water stuck on their neck caused them to unconsciously touch their neck." He propped his chin and reasoned, "This means the ghost's rule for killing people is that it touches the water dripping from the ceiling." Zhang Kai looked at Wang Ye's speculation. At least one of the ghost's killing rules is certainly like that. He couldn't help but think, this kid guessed the rule for turning people to gold just by observing the scene. Wang Ye looked cautiously at the falling drops of water. This ghost might have matured, because the sound of water was getting louder. He turned back and advised Zhang Kai, "I suggest you warn your team members to be careful of the drops of water." At this moment, Zhang Kai also looked at his phone. My team members will arrive in 10 minutes. His tone gradually changed. 10 minutes. Zhang Kai looked seriously at the scene. Who knows how big this ghost will become and how many people it will kill? Yes, Wang Ye didn't say much and took off his shirt, using it to cover his entire body. Now we can only bet that these drops of water must touch bare skin to cause the golden transformation. Wang Ye decisively stepped into the area where the drops were falling heavily. Let me check for you. Zhang Kai was horrified. The drops of water falling on the shirt created a reddish stain. Yes. Ye calmly walked under the drops while Zhang Kai stood outside holding his breath every second. Wang Ye turned back. It seems it only works if it directly touches the skin. Let's go. Zhang Kai obeyed, took off his shirt to cover himself, then ran with Wang Ye as the drops of water gradually became heavier. He urged faster steps, water falling faster and faster. He followed closely behind Wang Ye, silently admiring. How strong is this guy's mentality? If he fails, the price will be his life. Wang Ye went ahead and kicked the door open, and the two stopped in the room ahead. But inside was a horrific scene. The people inside had been massacred, lying scattered on the floor. Yes, Wang Ye calmly observed finding the golden sealed jar, which could be seen as the thing that sealed the ghost. After restoring it, the eternal night terror dared to open the sealed golden jar again. He turned and asked, "How many minutes until the reinforcements arrive?" Zhang Kai immediately replied, 9 minutes. Wang Ye asked, "How long can your ability suppress it?" We can only wait longer," he reluctantly said. "Start suppressing after 4 minutes." Wang Ye's face was serious. What we need to think about now is how to survive the next 4 minutes. Zhang Kai looked at his shirt. The water was falling faster and faster. The outer shirt was almost completely wet. He had another idea. What if we use their shirts? Wang Ye immediately rejected. Stupid. He looked carefully. The clothes on the floor were already soaked. He decisively used his shirt to cover Zhang Kai. Use my shirt first. When it reaches the limit, then use yours. Besides, you still have another shirt on, right? 1 minute passed. Both Wang Ye's and Zhang Kai's eyes were fixed on the clock. He shouted, "Get ready!" 2 minutes passed. Wang Ye realized it was time to switch. He decisively dropped his shirt to the floor. Immediately, Zhang Kai raised his shirt to cover both of them again. 4 minutes passed. The two counted down together. Zhang Kai's eyes gradually turned green as soon as the number 1 was called out. Wang Ye shouted, "Suppress!" Zhang Kai's eyes turned completely green. He shouted, "Psychic eye ability, terrified." Zhang Kai used his power to sweep a line right in front. In Wang Ye's mind, he thought they had successfully suppressed it. The water stopped dripping. He said, "Now we can only hope your teammates don't arrive late." Zhang Kai coughed up blood. He quickly covered his mouth. The more skilled he was, the stronger the misperception. The higher the cost to use it, the faster the jar seals. After a while, Wang Ye looked at the water drops starting to fall again and wondered if Zhang Kai's terror had reached its limit. Meanwhile, Zhang Kai beside him was trembling. Suddenly, there was a loud sound boom. A girl with wings shouted, "Zhang Kai, are you okay?" Wang Ye put his shirt on. This supernatural event was probably resolved. Ordinary people like me no longer need to get involved in the behind-the-scenes work, I think. Although in my previous life I was the only ordinary person in Squad A. I often went to places where ordinary people gathered like schools. Common countermeasures when ordinary people encounter supernatural beings. Wang Di's gaze became distant, but he recalled something he once heard. If you have a supernatural ability, even if only a part awakens, you will become a top-level character. Wang Di muttered, "Some kind of supernatural awakening, I don't know. Is there a chance for change after being reborn?" He looked into the distance. Currently, Shangjing City is the safest city. The headquarters of countless demon-hunting squads are all here, at apartment complex X10. Wang Di stood on the rooftop silently thinking. In his previous life, at this time he was still studying in Vinan City. He had never heard of a sudden outbreak event at schools in Shangjing City before. Who would reach into their pocket to see if being reborn can change the trajectory of the previous life? I transferred schools to study in Shangjing City, using the inheritance left by my parents to buy an apartment. Unexpectedly, just after moving here, I encountered a supernatural event. The door gradually opened. He was still lost in thought, wondering if in his previous life he had grasped too little information. Or maybe this life's changes in actions have affected the event. Wang Di's expression changed because of this. He looked at the door right before him, flickering in and out of sight. Behind the haze was the supernatural event. He clenched his hand tightly and slowly opened the door. A blinding light came from the other side, the door illuminating the whole room. Wang Di slowly opened his eyes. A sound rang out, alerting him to observe his surroundings. Is this the space inside the door? He suspiciously picked up a paper on the table. It read, "At tomb number 3 in the suburban cemetery, burn the letter in front of the grave to receive a reward, limited time only." Wang Di wondered. Demons can't communicate, that's an ironclad law many people discovered in previous lives. But this letter and writing clearly want to send a message to me. His expression darkened. Looks like this is not an ordinary supernatural event. Compared to not being able to awaken and walking the path of the previous life, it's better to take a gamble at the suburban cemetery of Shangjing City. Wang Di slowly stepped forward. He observed his surroundings. According to the information I currently found online, the suburban cemetery existed before Vinda. After the terrifying awakening of Vinda, no events occurred in places with strong yin energy like the suburban cemetery. He put his hand in his pocket to find something. Initially, investigators listed the suburban cemetery as a dangerous area, but the warning was gradually lifted. Currently, except for an old man knocking a wooden block here, no one else lives there. Wang Di took out an item and exclaimed, "Luckily, at the start of rebirth, I had the chance to buy gold, while I still could spend money to buy it." He looked around and saw a small glimmer of light in the distance. Prepared a few small props, a short golden blade. It can somewhat be useful. At the moment of locking in, an old man holding an oil lamp slowly opened the door. His face gradually appeared in the dim light of the lamp. Wang Di entered the cemetery, eyes scanning around, searching for the target. In his mind, he thought, why do I feel such intense unease from the moment I stepped in? He shone the light on gravestones marked with red numbers. Angrily said 3837, damn it, the order is reversed. Tomb number 3 must be deeper inside. He went deeper, searching tomb 654. Suddenly, Wang Di stopped in front of tombstones number 4 and number 2. He called out confused, 2. A feeling of unease surged. Wang Di was sweating profusely. Yeah, after tomb number 4 is tomb number 2. Tomb number 3 has disappeared or never existed. He tensely clenched the short blade in his hand. Suddenly, he realized there was something wrong with this cemetery. Wang Di looked at the gravestones in front of him. Thinking back, the deeper gravestones were more severely damaged, while the outer gravestones were newly built. He bent down to observe a hole on the ground. Suddenly, he thought, why are there scratch marks around tomb number 1? He recalled when searching for information online. Could it be that there's something running out of grave number 1? A chill crept over Wang Ye. If that were true, there would be warning reports about the danger level of this place online. Wang Ye looked back at the tombstone he thought was number 2. Or maybe my intelligence level is just too low right now. Seems like the mission from that strange letter isn't going to be easy. Suddenly he noticed the tombstone was cracked. The number on the tombstone was altered by the crack. A thought flashed in his mind. Wang Ye looked at that grave and guessed, could there be something about to run out of grave number 2 as well? If so, I'd better leave early today. Suddenly he paused. That weird letter must have evaluated my level and abilities before coming to me. It wouldn't assign a mission that's impossible to complete. He turned to look at the shattered stones on the ground as if realizing something. Wait, what am I basing on to say this? Broken tombstone is number 1. Clearly, I haven't even looked at the number on top yet. He picked up a broken piece of stone, his eyes fixed on the stone piece he just picked up. Wang Ye held the stone with the number 2 on it. Just as he suspected, the real grave number 2 is here. He glanced again at the tomb he had mistaken at first. Then where is the real grave number 3? The crack on the tombstone suddenly oozed a dark red liquid. He reached out to touch the tombstone, thinking puzzled. Is the syrup suddenly oozing from the crack because it's afraid I'll see it clearly, or... Suddenly, a strange sound came from behind 6 lumps hovering right above Wang Ye's head. He was so focused on observing the tombstone that he didn't notice the shadow of something strange appeared behind him. He looked closely at the number 3, which was partially erased by the crack. I knew it, this is the real grave number 3. Wang Ye held the letter in his hand excitedly and said, as long as I burn this envelope here, the mission will be completed. He didn't know that behind him a terrifying demon with bloodshot eyes and sharp teeth had appeared. Wang Ye burned the letter in his hand. At the same time, the demon lunged forward to attack. The burning letter released a strange power that flew straight into the tombstone. The demon seemed affected as well. Syrup spilled out along the cracks and a strange power surrounded the tombstone. Wang Yi sat down on the ground. The demon behind him dissipated and disappeared. He looked up at the strange smoke slowly fading away, thinking, indeed, this mission is something an ordinary person can complete as long as you stay calm and careful. Wang Ye walked up to a house still wondering, but where exactly is grave number 1? As he passed by the house, someone inside kept watching his every step. Suddenly, his intuition warned him of danger nearby. Wang Ye halted. He looked through the house window and saw a figure inside. The old man stared at him with a wicked smile. Wang Yi was scared back a step, thinking whatever ran out of grave number 2 earlier has already escaped. How could this old man be calm, as if nothing happened? Even the thing from grave number 3 made such a loud noise tonight. He couldn't have not heard it. He decisively turned and ran far from the strange house. Run quickly. The door opened slightly, emitting a strange light. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. The number 1 was displayed above the door. Wang Ye opened the door and stepped inside, panting, thinking, "What on earth is going on today?" He collapsed tiredly onto the sofa, thinking, this suburban cemetery must be classified as an S-level location. He rubbed his head, puzzled why in his previous life he never heard of this door suddenly appearing. He immediately jumped up from the chair and shouted, "Was it really necessary to be so sudden?" Wang Ye walked to open the door again, muttering, "This time let me see." He stepped into the room behind the post office door, wondering what kind of trick this was. He looked at the string of beads on the shelf, thinking Ding Buddha beads, then glanced at several red letters on another shelf. Are the blood infection level letters indicating mission difficulty? He looked at the letters in various shades on the shelf and couldn't help but sigh. My previous letter only had a light red blood stain, and I already barely squeezed through half of Iran. So how scary are the top 3 in difficulty? His eyes shifted in another direction and suddenly discovered something new. This post office even has a second floor. Wang Ye looked at the staircase leading upward. The surroundings seemed to emit a danger, but it scattered an eerie aura. It seemed this was something he couldn't investigate right now. He then looked to the side and saw a rope and a small sign. It turned out to be a demon-binding rope that can tie up demons. He reached out to touch the rope. Suddenly, the rope emitted a strange power. Is this the reward for me? A demon-binding rope that can restrain demons without needing gold? This supernatural event is really twisted. Suddenly, a piece of paper fell from the rope. Wang Ye looked at the paper that had just fallen. On it were the name and function of the rope. It also mentioned a follow-up letter to be received 7 days later. In the enclosed room filled with purple light, Wang Ye held the paper and examined it. In this post office, after putting in effort, one receives a generous reward equivalent to being like a delivery person or post office staff. He recalled last time he faced danger being attacked by a demon. This mission seemed to suppress some of the dangers of the top 3 already. He slowly took the rope and left the room feeling full of doubt. Could the post office be meant to suppress demons? Is its sole purpose to maintain peace? In his previous life, even an A-level squad only had one supernatural item, but now just completing the mission grants one. Wang Ye grabbed the door handle and opened it, feeling fired up inside. Although the mission was very dangerous, the reward was extremely generous. This suits someone with a gambling mindset like himself. Holding the rope for a while, Wang Ye was still deep in thought. Maybe in his previous life he couldn't awaken his supernatural power. Now, he has the chance. Cut to another scene in the office of the Tin Hong ghost hunting squad in Shangjung City. Zhang Zi stood with arms crossed suspiciously, asking Zhang Kai, that high school student you met during the supernatural event at school, is he really an ordinary person? Zhang Kai sat there honestly answering, yes he is. He seems very familiar with terrifying situations. Also, Zhang Zi was a bit impatient. He slumped in his chair and pressed, "What about him?" He revealed all his thoughts. He gave me the feeling that, whether it's others or himself, he truly seems like that one word. Zhang Kai could speculate that Wang Ye is like a gambler. He wondered and asked the gambler again. He recalled when Wang Ye was walking up the stairs. That image increased Zhang Kai's suspicion. On the stairs, he was sure it was just a low-level ghost that couldn't change the terrain. It's not just that. There's another matter that made him certain his speculation was correct. On the 4th-floor hallway, he was sure that only when water droplets fell on the skin would the ghost's killing rule be activated. These two situations linked together, and he concluded that this was clearly the behavior of a gambler. Zhang Zi rubbed his chin after hearing this, squinting his eyes. Is that so? Then he ordered the secretary beside him to investigate the students' files and report the situation to Tian Su. Zhang Kai asked curiously what the report to Tian Su was about. Zhang Zi spoke plainly. Even if he's a genius, he's still just an ordinary person. It's better to send his info to Tian Su. Maybe it can be exchanged for points. He only replied without adding anything else. He told himself not to overthink. Just follow orders from the commander. Suddenly, Zhang Kai noticed that Zhang Zi's stance and expression were very similar to Wang Ye's. Looking at him, Zhang Kai was reminded of Wang Ye. This startled him. That sense of fragile safety, the kid really is just like the team leader. Frozen for a few seconds, Zhang Zi then slapped his shoulder, waking him up. Don't zone out. You have to awaken the second part quickly. Zhang Zi bluntly warned that otherwise, with his current state in, at most 2 months, almost his whole body would rot. In the living room, the blazing sunlight shone in. Vuong Diep lazily lay on the sofa, his voice tinged with regret, saying he couldn't go to school anymore. After all, the strange event of the Yi Ling just happened yesterday. He sat up suddenly, recalling that even in his past life, he was busy dealing with all kinds of Yi Ling. Right now, this strange sense of safety made him a little unsure of what to do. Suddenly, someone loudly knocked on his door, accompanied by a fierce voice saying, "Come out, Vuong Diep." Calmly, he went to the door and turned the doorknob, silently appreciating the efficiency of the people behind this group. This group moves pretty fast. Sure enough, behind a squad that can be promoted to an A-team, the captain wouldn't be a fool. The door opened, and Ton Kiem, tall and with a cold expression, stepped in and asked if he was Vuong Diep. Without fear, he replied, "Yes, that's me," then calmly walked inside. The fridge, stocked with 6 kinds of food, surprised Ton Kiem greatly. "Aren't you curious who I am?" Vuong Diep responded while grabbing some food. "If I don't ask, won't you just tell me?" He drank a can and glanced at him, thinking to himself that after so many encounters with people from Tien To in his past life, he was very familiar with this organization. Ton Kiem took the initiative to approach him, greeted him, and introduced himself. "My name is Ton Kiem from Tien To." Vuong Diep just kept walking, indifferent, and innocently asked back, "What is Tien To?" There's always a reason for him to act so naive. But right now, he was just a normal student who couldn't show any knowledge about Tien To to avoid revealing his reincarnation. Tien To was highly suspicious. Any unidentified element would be strictly controlled. Ton Kiem also had to be cautious, unable to see through the depths of the kid in front of him. Sure enough, since he didn't voluntarily reveal any info, this guy probably wouldn't pay attention to him. He then got to the point after Vin Ha's recovery. The government established Tien To to handle strange events and to supervise and eliminate superpowered individuals who in panic went beyond boundaries after awakening their abilities. He sat leisurely drinking a soda, his tone very casual. "But I'm just an ordinary person." Yet he remained patient, saying that even so, through the dripping water incident yesterday, they noticed Vuong Diep was extremely calm and knowledgeable about Yi Ling events. He sat down and spoke at length, mainly to invite talented people like him into their organization. Vuong Diep already knew his intentions, but still pretended not to know anything. "You want an ordinary person like me to handle Yi Ling events? Isn't that just an assassination attempt?" Even after saying that, Ton Kiem was still determined to invite him sweet-talking and proposing solutions to win him over. "We also have many rear-end tasks. It's not necessary to always be on the front line. Plus, every completed mission earns corresponding points. In this era, points represent strength even more so than money and unlimited power." Vuong Diep kept his cold expression, bluntly saying, "I'm not short of money, but I'm sure you know their killing rules have thousands of strange variations." He listed many drawbacks. Even if there's a recording from the front lines, those behind could still die senselessly and without reason. Besides, even if I agree, you guys will still evaluate me. So talking about these things now is meaningless, isn't it? The more he spoke, the more Ton Kiem's face changed color. He thought to himself that ever since he stepped in, the rhythm of everything had been controlled by this kid. Helpless, he switched to another plan. Ton Kiem had to yield before him, saying, "You're right. I believe that no matter what I say, I can't change your decision. So come with me." Contrary to Ton Kiem's expectations, Vuong Diep agreed easily, which surprised him even more. Vuong Diep immediately made a request. "I have only one condition. Give me high-level intelligence authority." He slammed the soda can on the table as he made his offer. "If you agree, I'll go with you to prove my worth." Vuong Diep secretly planned that after 7 days he would open the second envelope. Without strong intelligence sources, he might suffer losses. Hearing this, Ton Kiem was a bit confused. "I have to report to my superior. The way you speak only makes him more suspicious. Is this guy really just an ordinary student?" The clock ticks minute by minute. Finally, the other side makes a decision. Ton Kiem goes to inform the superior that he agrees to your request. "But your test will be increased to difficulty level B. This level is for psychics." Vuong Diep puts on his coat and walks straight ahead with a victorious smile. Makes perfect sense. To get good resources, you need to demonstrate corresponding strength. Vuong Diep exudes a calm yet cautious aura. His gaze is fixed on the towering building ahead. Ton Kiem stands beside him with his hands clasped behind his back, looking relaxed. He proudly introduces, "This is the headquarters of Tien To. From the rooftop, you can see the entire city." He looks up. Vuong Diep's eyes stare into the distance. I remember that 3 years from now, an A-level paranormal event will happen at the Thiento headquarters building. The people inside will have no time to react. Casualties will be numerous. Since then, Thiento learned a lesson and rebuilt it as a single-story building. After standing in front of the building for a while, Voongdeep is led inside the Thiento headquarters by Ton Kim. The interior is extremely modern with glossy marble floors reflecting warm light. Ton Kim calmly and professionally points to the elevator and says to Voongdeep, "Please go this way." Once inside the elevator, Voongdeep presses the up button and is informed of the test details. Ton Kim says this while the elevator doors slowly close. Find the origin of the ghost on the 13th floor and seal it. Good luck. The next part is no longer my responsibility. After a moment, the elevator dings to announce that Voongdeep has arrived. As the elevator door opens, a chill rushes in, carrying a creepy sensation as if entering another dimension. In front of Voongdeep is a long, silent, and cold corridor. Pale green lights reflect off the shiny walls. He steps out of the elevator as the doors close behind him. He stands there staring deep into the endless hallway, silently assessing the Level B mission is a solo sealing of a ghost with a somewhat high difficulty. Voongdeep begins to enter that cold space. His footsteps echo softly in the vast, quiet space. As he walks, he can't help but think that most psychics nowadays can't capture ghosts alone. Thiento is overestimating him. He turns his head to look around with a tense and worried expression. Besides, would Thiento dare release a ghost inside their headquarters? If there's a mistake, the losses would be severe. Suddenly, the light above his head flickers unusually. Voongdeep frowns slightly, his cold eyes looking up at the ceiling where the light flashed. A question pops into his mind. Is this how it starts? Immediately, Voongdeep quickly pulls out 2 weapons. One is a ghost-binding rope obtained from the paranormal postal mission to tie demons. The other is a gold needle used to suppress weak ghosts or slow down normal demons. Holding these 2 defensive weapons, he carefully thinks before fully understanding the rules for sending the ghost to the afterlife. It's best not to act rashly. On the other side, through the surveillance screen, Trung Tu Lung strokes his chin, intently observing Voongdeep. He nods slightly, praising him. Oh, this young man is quite calm, facing danger without panic. Good psychological qualities. His gaze is sharp, yet somewhat amused as he evaluates this potential candidate Voongdeep. Jungsum stands close behind Trung Tu, also watching Voongdeep through the surveillance screen. He crosses his arms and can't help but ask him, is he really just an ordinary person? Do you really think he can capture a ghost alone, even if it's a reformed ghost? Trung Tu hears this and raises a hand slightly as if telling a light joke. He laughs, haha. No need to push him. We just want to check the ceiling. It's not an actual mission, right? Next to him, Duong Sam still stood with his arms crossed, showing no emotion, glancing at Truong Tu Lang but not daring to speak. On the other side, Voongdeep was still holding the golden needle in his hand and wrapping the rope around his arm. He silently sensed that 3 minutes had passed. Except for feeling his body a bit colder, there were no other symptoms. His face tensed as he thought quietly that waiting passively wasn't a good strategy after all. He could only take the initiative to attack. Suddenly, a strange shadow appeared at his feet. The ragged shadow gradually moved closer to Voongdeep. He still didn't sense anything unusual and kept his eyes fixed toward the end of the hallway. Voongdeep began to walk. The space was eerily silent, with only the soft sound of his footsteps echoing. Its thin black strands connected to his shadow. Voongdeep kept moving forward, unaware that the demon behind him was growing taller. Then a boom echoed through the space. The black shadow was no longer an undefined mass. It had taken on a grotesque form, a deformed entity. Hearing this, Voongdeep suddenly froze. His expression was extremely serious, but the silence was so deep one could hear a dust particle fall to the floor. A soft sound suddenly tore through the quiet. Hearing the noise, Voongdeep reflexively turned like a leopard. His fingers gripped the golden needle tightly. I've searched this entire floor but couldn't find the demon. After a moment of thought, he concluded that the current aggression seemed weak. Voongdeep remained standing straight, his left index and middle fingers still holding the golden needle ready. He had realized the true objective of this test. The hardest part of this mission wasn't the seal at the end, but finding the demon. On the side of the celestial faction, the surveillance screen still showed Voongdeep continuing his search. Duong Sam, in a shiny black suit, was leaning back in his office chair. His figure looked both frustrated and tired from having to monitor Voongdeep. Watching Voongdeep repeatedly take meaningless steps down the hallway, he couldn't help but sneer. Such a fool. Voongdeep, on the surveillance screen, stopped briefly after pacing several times. He rubbed his chin, his gaze thoughtful as if he had discovered something. Trung Tu Lung saw this and furrowed his brows. His eyes sharpened as he observed every action and gesture, then said to Duong Sam beside him, that it seemed he had found something unusual. Duong Sam, standing nearby, was startled and shouted loudly, "It's only been 10 minutes." The atmosphere in the monitoring room grew tenser. Trong Tu looked at the computer screen with a pensive expression. Then he turned to Duong Sam with a teasing tone. "I remember last time you took about 30 minutes before noticing something strange, right?" Duong Sam behind him frowned in displeasure and snorted. Vuong Deep stood in the mystical purple space, rubbing his chin as he gradually sank into his thoughts and analysis. There weren't many places to hide on this floor. The places where it could hide were too few to be meaningful. Within a few seconds, Vuong Diep's eyes slowly closed. His face showed intense focus and a hint of exhaustion. He recalled the building's layout and every detail he had passed on this hallway. His willpower couldn't hold back, and growing a bit impatient, he asked, "Where exactly are you hiding?" Suddenly, Vuong Diep's dark purple eyes opened wide, a bit smug, as he thought, "Found you." He swiftly rotated his body in the strange purple mist. The familiar brown rope wrapped around his arm, the other end tightening around the faint shadow of the demon he had just found. Vuong Deep's left hand gripped the shining golden needle tightly. Then he threw the needle straight at the demon. The demon fought back fiercely when attacked, but seemed to be restrained by your rope. The ghost immediately fell. Right in the middle of the demon's chest, the golden needle that Vuong Diep shot gently pierced the heart, emitting a brilliant light that seemed to suppress the ghost. After seeing the ghost like that, Vuong Diep stood up straight. His gaze looked down at the ghost with a calm expression, even a bit indifferent. He looked at the demon pierced by the golden needle, struggling in pain, and said with some admiration, "A whole large empty floor, the only place a ghost could hide must be behind me." He focused on the ghost on the floor and commented, "Easily controlled by a golden needle, indeed very weak." Vuong Diep knelt down on one knee. His eyes intently watched the ghost gradually disappear. His face was serious, as if evaluating, "Looks like the core of this test is just to find ghosts like this, which is too easy, just a matter of time." Only then did he realize the main purpose of this ability test. The time they really wanted to test was how long it took me to find them. At the same time, the monitoring speaker in the hallway announced, "Congratulations, the test is over. Please proceed to the 21st floor." After Zhang Ziliang finished announcing, Vuong Diep began to step out of the hallway, heading toward the elevator. Yang Sam stood behind Zhang Zi, folding his arms with some dissatisfaction. He spoke with a disdainful tone. "Even 18 minutes is only an average grade A." Zhang Zi reminded him not to forget he was just an ordinary person. He didn't argue further with Yang Sam, but stood up to adjust his collar. Zhang Zi with an interested look and a confident smirk. "All right, I should go meet this interesting ordinary person." In the reception room, the atmosphere was very quiet. Zhang Zi and Vuong Diep shook hands. He cheerfully introduced himself, "Zhang Ziliang, Minister of Logistics." Vuong Diep also began introducing himself. "I'm Vuong Diep. The request that Sun Qian mentioned to you earlier, right?" Zhang Zi calmly replied, "No problem. Here's this USB for you." Then he handed Vuong Diep a USB. Zhang Zi added some instructions. "Plug it into a computer and it will automatically open a website. Inside, there's a lot of news from outside. This is a level B classified secret, do not disclose." Vuong Diep coldly took the USB in his hand, observing it for a long moment. He silently admired, "Great, the more informational authority I have, the more news I know, the better my chances of survival next time I open a letter." Zhang Zi extended his hand and said, "Let me briefly introduce the work of the logistics department serving all the ability users of Tianzhu." They both sat down and started talking. He was introducing some rules, for example, before handling a supernatural event. Researching materials first increases their survival chances, or reporting on supernatural events they have handled and filing supernatural cases. Zhang Zi's face became tired and a bit sad. He continued, "Ability users face murder every day. The psychological pressure is huge. Someone needs to help them decompress." Vuong Diep took a sip of tea and then fell into deep thought. He remembered in his past life he also had a call center specialist, but in an unsolvable level, supernatural event. That cute girl seemed to have sacrificed herself with him. After all, that ghost could slaughter people without making a sound. Zhang Zi approached a box and flipped through it, looking for something still smiling brightly. "If there's no problem, I'll arrange for you to take the position." After finding what he was looking for, Zhang Zi handed Vuong Diep a piece of paper and instructed, "This is the ability user you're in charge of. Your job during the internship is to handle all requests from this ability user." On the paper was information about a girl named Chu Ham. After reading it through, he looked up confidently and said, "Got it. I'll go ahead. She seems like a girl with problems." Zhang Zi also gave Wang Diep a few more instructions. I'll give you her phone number a bit later. If there's a mission, you'll be notified in advance. You're free the rest of the time. Keep your phone on 24/7 to avoid losing contact. He decisively replied he understood. Suddenly, he raised his voice. That's right. Zhang Zi's facial expression suddenly turned strangely sinister. He began to question what the rope around your waist was for. Yes. Wang Diep realized he was being suspected and glanced backward. He turned his head coldly and answered, just a decoration. Wang Diep asked back, Is there a problem? Zhang Zi awkwardly waved back, It's nothing. Wish you a pleasant workday. As the door closed, he immediately showed a strange expression. Yang Sam beside him seemed to notice something unusual from Wang Ye. That rope is a bit strange. Zhang Zi replied indifferently, But it doesn't matter, does it? He rubbed his chin and said, You let him take charge of Chu Han again. Could it be that you don't like him? The girl came over and he explained, I feel that Chu Han will like him. Like him? He's as good as dead. I really began to somewhat agree with Wang Ye. At Wang Ye's place in his office, yes. Ye was intently staring at the computer screen. His hands typed rapidly on the keyboard. Finally, he had high-level intelligence in hand. That suburban cemetery really had too many suspicious points. He plugged the USB into the computer, curious about what surprises this Level B intelligence clearance might bring him. Next, he moved the mouse to the .com domain. Wang Yi was sitting in front of the computer screen at this moment. His puzzled voice sounded strange. Wang Ye then typed a phrase, suburban cemetery, then moved the mouse to the search box. He couldn't help but think, still no news related to the suburban cemetery. Could it be that even Tianzhu hasn't discovered anything unusual yet? In Wang Ye's mind appeared a man grinning wickedly. He looked sullen, staring at the computer deep in thought. A demon has already come out from that cemetery. There can't be no signs. Besides, is that old man human or demon? A Chinese voice rang out from afar. Wang Ye furrowed his brow, realizing an unexpected event had occurred. A hearse appeared on the screen showing a very noisy crime scene. A man was sitting leaning against a yellow car. The headline was about the appearance of the supernatural event nicknamed Hearse, with a warning, everyone who gets in the car will die. The image of two hearses appeared in Wang Ye's mind. Around them was a dark, ominous aura. Every time someone dies, the number of hearses increases by 1. The deceased turn into drivers. The spread is very extensive. Wang Ye propped his chin, silently thinking there are now over 100 hearses running in the city. For now, he couldn't confirm the origin of that car. He just picked up the phone placed on the table. A series of thoughts appeared in his mind, never heard of the hearse event in a previous life. It definitely got resolved quickly. After all, with this rate of spread, it can't be hidden. The phone suddenly vibrated due to an incoming call. Yes, Ye didn't think much and answered. On the other end was a woman's voice. Are you the new operator that the boss sent to me? A series of information about Chu Han was mentioned. He frowned and asked again. Chu Han said what? Ye thought that she must be calling right after arranging her midday work. This job seems a bit hectic. As he was thinking, the line suddenly shouted loudly, forcing him to cover his ears. Hey, what is Chu Han that you're calling about? Call the boss. Wang Ye irritably warned, If you keep saying meaningless things, I'll hang up. The woman's voice suddenly turned sweet through the phone. Big brother, are you talking to me? Then a sharp, angry scream rang out. Do you want to die? Wang Ye couldn't stand it anymore and was about to hang up. Although many psychic imposters have issues, this person's level was truly rare. The phone rang. An unknown number appeared on the screen. He looked confused at the number. Wang Ye quickly answered. He spoke coldly. The other end replied, I'm a bit interested in you now, but you investigate the news related to the hearse for me first. Wang Ye turned back to his desk and looked at the computer screen. Hearse Level B supernatural event exploded 3 days ago. Address Manhua Road, Fengtian area, Linan City. He picked up the phone and recounted all the information he had found. Current understanding of the massacre pattern. The boarding rules are still unclear. The origin is unknown. The known number of dead people is about 140 to 150. The identity of the funeral convoy currently includes about 150 vehicles. These are all the current news. After hearing his words, the person on the other end of the phone was quite satisfied and said, Respect your work. Efficiency is pretty fast. I could probably just snap both your heads off. Inside, Wang Ye thought, Where did this freak jump out from? Sometimes a cute loli, other times as violent as gunpowder. Talking back and forth, always wanting to tear my head off is just so boring. The phone rang again. Wang Ye looked at it indifferently. The time spent rambling was already enough to analyze all the clues at the scene. Foolish. The phone rang again. He put the phone away and covered his ears. The angry voice on the other side spoke. "What are you looking for?" Wang Ye reluctantly thought according to the terms and rules he was obliged to listen to. He quickly pressed to hang up. "Looks like it was nothing important." The voice sounded again. "If there's a disconnect, it has to be me who disconnects." Wang Ye sat cross-legged on the chair. Indeed, it was boring. Besides, during the handling of the Yi Ling incident, was it really okay for her to hang up? He placed his hand on the table dazedly, looking at the screen to check the time starting from 3 days ago. A taxi driver resting by the roadside suddenly died. Looking at the image of a thin man in the article, a series of inferences flashed through Wang Ye's mind. Then, according to surveillance cameras, the driver suddenly sat up and continued to drive the taxi. And later, the bodies in the taxi all died suddenly within a short time. At the place where the person died, another taxi would appear. The next scene showed the funeral convoy being controlled by some mysterious force. Wang Ye read and pondered. The license plate and appearance were all the same. And the previous body also appeared on the new taxi and became the driver. He rested his chin on his hand, thinking. In just 3 days, there were already over 100 people. Surely the death rate can be prevented. Suddenly, a line of text caught his eye. The funeral convoy is activated to kill people. When driving, it will ram and kill pedestrians to create clones. Wang Ye's face was emotionless at this moment. Is it a demon that can mature or just random? If counted as traffic accidents, the number of bodies would increase exponentially. Warning sirens sounded inside Wang Ye's head. The situation seemed to have become serious. "Yes," Wang Ye dialed Chu Han. As soon as the other end picked up, he spoke. "I just carefully reviewed the data again. The rule of the funeral convoy killing is that just sitting in the car guarantees logout." Chu Han, on the other end, responded somewhat irritated. "Do you really need to call me again to remind me of this? Do you have nothing else to do?" Wang Ye snapped, ordering, "Shut up and listen. Demons cannot die again. This is an unchangeable rule. Like a person getting into the funeral convoy will definitely die. This is also an unchangeable rule." "Yes." He frowned slightly, analyzing. "If so, what would happen if you stopped a funeral convoy and let a demon get on it?" "I analyzed that the final outcome would turn into a fight between 2 demons." Wang Yi began to imagine one demon gnawing on another. It looked a bit funny. He continued. "The funeral convoy, to fulfill its own killing rule, will retrieve its clones, then reveal its true origin." Wang Ye guessed if lucky, the funeral convoy might even fall into a deep sleep because it cannot fulfill this rule. Chu Han on the other end fell silent without responding. After a moment, the voice came through. "Got it." Wang Ye stood up and stretched, thinking, "It's settled, so I should train a bit. The body is too weak right now." The door of the room was tightly closed. Inside, Wang Sam raised his phone and said to Zhang Ziliang, "This is the recording of Wang Ye proposing the plan to Chu Han." Zhang Zi stood up, leaning on the table, loosening his tie. Satisfied, he responded, "Good, Wang Ye really is a talent. Quickly report this plan to the deputy team leader." He couldn't help but say excitedly, "Finally, it's our logistics department's turn to make achievements." Yang Sam replied, "I'll print the plan." In his mind, he thought, until now, the role of the logistics department has only been coordination and service. Even the mission of the psychic at the front line failed. A part of them still blamed the logistics department. They blamed them for not reporting in time. Duong Sam recalled when the logistics department was pressured. Some were even lazy to find reasons, and directly said the call center staff were not respectful enough to them, making them unhappy and causing the mission to fail. He then looked at Trong Tu. Every time it happened, the minister was very angry but had no outlet to vent. Meanwhile, he didn't know someone watching him was happily smug. Indeed, my unique eye for judging people did not choose the wrong person. Our logistics can also carry. Duong Sam was satisfied and assessed. Looks like that kid is smart. Half an hour later, on the rooftop of the Thien To building, a man holding a box approached the helicopter waiting there. The next day, Wang Deep was browsing through web pages. He sipped water while thinking, praising the brave squad members for their courage and fearlessness, but no specific details were recorded. He raised his hand to support his chin, pondering, "Anyway, right now, the attitudes of the 2 major forces, the Buddha Nation and Daothan, are very ambiguous and vague. Outside the city and in the wasteland, dangers are everywhere. Under these circumstances, a new solution is not to disclose information casually outside." Yes, Wang Deep continued, searching the news sites without his name appearing. Perhaps to protect himself. After all, he was just an ordinary person. Trong Tu called Wang Deep excitedly and said, "You're the first person to complete just 1 day of training. Congratulations on officially transferring. What reward do you want? He smiled and thought silently. Looks like the logistics department can get quite a few perks. Yes, Wang Diep answered seriously. How about an A-level intelligence clearance? He immediately shouted angrily, Get lost. 10 points of credit will do. I'm going to work now. After hanging up, Wang Diep began to think, being a reincarnated person. I understand the importance of credit points. Now, credit points are still fairly easy to earn, he recalled previous times. In a few years, the second major terrorist outbreak will occur. The danger will increase dramatically. Things like money will almost become worthless. Yes, he sank into thought that the only currency left is credit points. Credit points are all powerful. Houses women power as long as you have credit points. These things will all be yours. Wang Diep stood up again. Looks like the initial step isn't bad. It's just that prices aren't high yet. Items exchanged for 10 credit points are still limited. No need to rush to exchange them. This will increase in value in the future. He frowned, calculating the Thean mission has ended. The 7-day period has arrived. The post office will open once again. At this moment, a door suddenly appeared beside him, glowing with light. Wang Diep turned and saw the glowing door appear. He went to it, turned the doorknob, and softly said, Come here. The door opened. Wang Diep saw on the table a fairly large nail and a piece of paper underneath. The paper had the address of the Tem Nguyen sub-district. The instructions said to nail the copper nail to the photo in the bedroom to awaken the psychic limb. The time limit was 3 days. Wang Diep looked at the few lines on the paper. He thought silently, awakening the psychic limb. The most troublesome problem in the previous life is finally solved. He picked up the nail to admire it, then muttered, This time it's not a letter again. Wang Diep sat back at the desk. His hands kept tapping on the keyboard, searching for information. The screen displayed materials about the Tem Nguyen sub-district, nicknamed the Ghost Child. The rule is, if the Ghost Child notices you, you'll be brutally hunted. There was once a supernatural incident that caused 23 deaths. Chu Ham came to resolve it. Currently, the population is sparse. He skimmed through the information he found and was surprised to realize it had been resolved. Why did Wang Diep fall into deep thought? The post office wouldn't let him do something meaningless. Based on this material, he was sure it wasn't the news about the suburban cemetery before. The high-level rank was basically not recorded. The material about the Tem Nguyen sub-district online also showed the psychic spirit event had been handled. It's currently in a safe state. But judging by the post office's nature, the safe place surely isn't his turn to go. My head hurts. I close my eyes and think of a way. Last time it was just an envelope with a little bit of syrup. I almost lost my life there. This time they directly gave a strange artifact like a nail. I'm afraid the situation is not that simple. We need to clearly outline the plan properly. He looks at the tall buildings on the screen, firmly thinking the biggest regret in my past life was not awakening my special abilities. Now the opportunity is right in front of me. I absolutely cannot afford to mess this up. Cut to the scene. Wang Ye stands in front of the Tem Nguyen sub-district. The surroundings are so quiet that you can only hear the wind blowing in waves. He looks around and evaluates. It's no different from the structural map he found earlier. It still seems normal, being an ordinary person. In his previous life, surviving through each strange event 001 was all thanks to caution. Any small mistake could have been a reason to lose his life. Wang Ye looks up at the building with a number 4 sign, silently thinking this is building number 4. Suddenly, an invisible danger strikes right behind him, causing him to freeze. He immediately turns around. He is shocked by what appears before his eyes. A ghost woman wearing a torn red dress. With pure white hair, she stands right behind him. She raises her sharp finger. Her eyes shine brightly as if she has spotted prey. This ghost woman's appearance is truly terrifying. Too scary. Wang Yi suddenly thinks, why would a crazy woman appear in this desolate sub-district with no people? He looks at her with suspicion. Also, the information on the Ling B website never mentioned this woman. Standing in front of Unit 4's door, he considers that it probably isn't offensive. Regardless, he'll report back to the Celestial Clan about this woman and let them handle it. He runs off, but worry stirs in his heart. Why does he feel nervous for no reason since entering this sub-district? Suddenly, Wang Ye's face darkens. He looks at the evil aura emanating from door 404. The door is suddenly opening. Wang Ye steps inside. He pushes the door open. The mission sent by the post office really won't be simple. He slowly walks in and observes the room. He is surprised when he sees what's in front of him. Suddenly, a large hand appears. He nervously touches his head, feeling something is wrong. Seeing this embroidered picture makes him feel alarmed. After observing for a while, Wang Ye gasps in astonishment. He discovers long footprints on the floor. Someone has been here. He follows those footprints. Besides himself, who else would come to this damn place? He pushes the door open. A strong, foul smell rises, making him cover his nose. A strong stench of rot. But why would this smell appear in kitchen 404? Wang Yi steps inside. Syrup is spilled all around. The Celestial Clan has already handled the rare spirit incident. The cleanup work behind the scenes is so sloppy. He turns to the kitchen. He sees a knife placed on the cutting board. Strange, the source of the smell seems to be this filleting knife. The filleting knife makes a sound that tempts him. "Need me and I'll give you unlimited power." Wang Ye grabs his head and shouts, "Enough!" He reaches out to take the knife but suddenly jerks back. He thinks this thing looks very dangerous. But if he completes the post office's mission, he'll get the corresponding reward. He recalls the place with syrup-stained letters and contemplates. This proves the post office wants to nurture the couriers. To make the couriers stronger, because only then can they reach even more dangerous places. Yes, Wang Ye stares intently at the weapon on the table. His hand reaches out as if intending to grab it. He thinks further, "I wonder if this can boost my strength to complete the mission." This requires a gamble betting on the post office and on himself. He picks up the weapon on the table. A dark red aura radiates out. It quickly coils tightly around Wang Ye. The pressure from the red aura is unbearable. A dark scene appears before his eyes. His hand still holds the weapon. He realized this was from his own eye level, only seeing his hand holding a freshly severed head. Wang Deep fearfully realized this must be the memory of the person holding the knife. Wang Deep tilted the mask up. A calm face was staring at him. Yes, Wang Deep saw the memory of the owner of that bone-cutting knife as if he was reliving the moment of holding the head and the knife. He thought about how terrifying this atmosphere was, how scary this knife must be. He saw the hand holding the knife trembling uncontrollably. Was this fear? The scene replayed before room 404. He panicked and collapsed down in the courtyard. Where exactly is this? His face showed clear confusion. What kind of horror could frighten even the owner of the knife? And was this fear coming from room 404? He thought silently while observing the room around him. Damn, Tianzu! Why aren't they locking down this terrifying place where they're doing whatever it is? He stepped into a small room. The mission's location was here. Wang Deep pushed the door open and quietly observed the situation inside. Suddenly, he saw something and gasped. This woman turned out to be a photo, a picture of a girl. Wang Deep looked at it and thought about the ghost woman earlier. The crazy woman in that small zone looked exactly like the woman in the photo. From afar came heavy footsteps hitting the floor. As they got closer, he guessed the footsteps came from the stairs, moving very fast. He quickly opened this door and ran inside. Wang Diep ran and hid in a cabinet, but barely made it before hiding. Through the cabinet's gap, he saw the ghost woman moving with deadly intent, as if searching for something. He thought if that thing found him, there was a high chance he wouldn't escape. Wang Deep prepared to draw his knife. If necessary, he would risk it. If this knife could stop the ghost even for a second, it would give him a chance to survive. Holding the knife ready, he took slow steps, seemingly moving from the living room toward the kitchen. The footsteps gradually quickened and became clearer. Looking through the cabinet slit, he wondered if the quickening steps meant it had detected something or was searching for something. His hand trembled. The smell of syrup was pungent. Wang Diep raised his hand to look at the syrup. It wasn't red paint on the cabinet, but syrup. The footsteps grew clearer. The ghost woman was standing right in front of the cabinet he was hiding in. He held the knife defensively, worried the thing had entered. Wang Deep held the knife at chest level, silently waiting. In the silent space, only his pounding heartbeat echoed. A hand with sharp nails reached out, nearly touching the cabinet door. He frowned tightly, looking at the gap in the door, then resolved to rush out. The ghost woman stretched her hand toward the adjacent cabinet door. Seeing the prey escape, she immediately chased after it. Wang Deep thought there was someone in the next cabinet, then moved on and opened another room. He saw it was full of other wooden cabinets, sighing to himself that if he had hidden in a different cabinet earlier, the consequences of a sudden attack would have been unimaginable. Suddenly hearing a noise, he looked toward the door, feeling suspicious. That sound seemed like going downstairs. Wang Diep raised his knife, looked around, and thought the thing must have discovered him. The bone-cutting knife in the kitchen was gone, which made him so worried. Then he quietly approached a wooden cabinet, reaching out to touch the door, sensing that this cabinet seemed to block the ghost's observation. Otherwise, the thing would have opened this cabinet door long ago. It seemed nothing in this room was simple. He went up to a rectangular portrait of a girl wearing a cheongsam. He continued, especially this painting, the cheongsam style was from over 15 years ago. Yes. Wang Deep turned away, looking in another direction, but kept thinking about the terrifying recovery after the Eternal Night incident, which had happened only 2 years ago. Could it be that something similar had happened even earlier? He didn't know that as he turned away, the eyes of the girl in the cheongsam in the painting turned red. Her mouth curled into a sinister smile, looking at him, then suddenly turned back to the girl in the painting, softly smiling as before. He felt it was very strange, thinking it was wrong, and decided to quickly finish the mission. He took a large, long nail and placed it on the right eyebrow of the girl in the painting, then struck the nail with the knife handle. A crack immediately appeared on her forehead. Immediately, the demoness could no longer keep her original expression, her eyes wide as she screamed. The nail was driven deeper and deeper. Cracks appeared more and more on her face. Syrup also dripped from her forehead down to her eyes as she held her face in pain, screaming silently. The bright red flowers on her body also fell all to the ground. A sudden sound startled him, causing him to stop hammering. Suddenly, thinking that guy was back, he wanted to stop him. He had to finish quickly. He held the nail and continued hammering. Each strong strike produced a piercing sound in his head, making him furious. Wang Ye painfully held his head, wondering if the pain was a side effect of that knife, causing an allergic reaction in the user. Seemingly sensing something, Wang Ye turned around suspiciously, thinking that guy had already entered. Without hesitation, he used the knife handle to hammer hard, driving the nail firmly into her forehead. The demoness endured the pain, gritting her teeth. Syrup soaked into her eyes, her gaze shifting from bright red to dark. Wang Ye was surprised to see nothing happening around and said the footsteps had disappeared. Wang Ye went to open another room's door, startled by the scene inside. The wind blew fiercely across the floor, leaving footprints in the dark red mud. When Wang Ye stepped into the room, it was immediately empty, only the gusts of wind blowing through. He brushed the hair off his forehead and quietly asked if it was over. He stepped out of the house, looked up, shielding his eyes with one hand, gazing at the sky, marveling that humans always strive for the good. Watching the sun gradually rising behind the building, he exhaled a long breath and smiled, saying maybe it also fears the light. But light gives people a sense of safety. Suddenly, a giant, disheveled-haired ghost appeared behind him, staring intently at him. Seemingly sensing this, Wang Ye spun around, but behind him was only an empty space. Wang Ye doubted, wondering if it was just a hallucination. Then he took his phone out of his pocket and raised it up. The phone screen displayed an image of the demoness in a torn red dress floating behind him. Looking closely, the right side of her face had a hole caused by the nail. Syrup drenched her face, dark lips, red eyes, looking at him affectionately. He panicked and shouted, "That's the crazy woman." Wang Yi angrily shouted, "Isn't her fate already sealed by Ding Dong?" Then he immediately ran away, shouting that he couldn't stay long in this hellhole. Indeed, the address provided by the post office was extremely terrifying. Seeing him run away, the demoness surprisingly did not chase, but retreated to hide behind the eaves of the building, shrouded in darkness. When the sunlight shone on her, she disappeared into the rubble in front of the building. A cold wind blew, and suddenly a bony, gaunt hand crawled out from within. Immediately after, on top of the pile of rubble, a male figure with long white hair appeared. He opened his mouth. His body swelled from bony to muscular in an instant, becoming a strong man. He stepped forward, brushing dust off himself, annoyed, saying he had already been through this once. What exactly is this fate situation? Just as he finished speaking, he was startled by the scene before him. Ahead were tightly packed buildings. The sun rose high, shining light on the rubble, which suddenly vanished without a trace. He was confused, wondering if it had disappeared. Could his fate really allow him to survive and escape? Better retreat quickly. In a certain room, Wang Ye opened a notebook on the table. He began to write down, recounting the events he had just experienced. Lines quickly appeared on the page as he recorded each event, then added a note emphasizing caution about that demoness. He flipped to the previous page, reading the words "Outer City Tomb." He said these demons might alter memories to keep the safety of the records on paper. Yes, before he could finish, the clock on the table struck 12. Seeing this, Wang Ye closed the notebook, stood up, and looked toward the door. He said indeed it was almost midnight. Then he walked to the door and unlocked it. He got ready, looked forward, and said finally he was about to awaken his supernatural power. Wang Ye stepped into the room where a faint blue light enveloped the space. The entire space was immersed in silence, leaving only the sound of breathing and Wang Diep's footsteps. After approaching this table in front, he picked up the paper and read it. The information on this paper read, "Put on the gloves and awaken the supernatural power, time 7 days later." After reading the note, Wang Diep cautiously picked up the strange red gloves, his face showing some tension. So every time the delivery is made, it's always 7 days later. The atmosphere in the room remained quiet, as if it had swallowed every sound. He slowly took the strange gloves on the table. The moment the gloves touched his skin, Wang Diep froze in surprise. The material felt like flesh, and he could even sense the meridians moving on the gloves. In the faint purple light, Wang Diep stood still, his eyes showing amazement and doubt. His hand trembled slightly as he stared at the glowing red gloves. He silently wondered if the gloves were sucking his blood. Within seconds, the light from the gloves flared intensely like a burning flame. The strange rays from the gloves seemed to root into his flesh, gradually drawing out Vuong Diep's precious biofluid. He couldn't endure it any longer. Vuong Diep's body felt like it was about to collapse, but he quickly braced himself with both hands on the table to support his trembling body. His face darkened with worry. His pupils contracted sharply from the tension. The pain tore through every fiber of his flesh. Vuong Diep couldn't help but scream out in agony. After a long while, the fusion process finally ended. Vuong Diep quickly gasped for breath. He lost control and immediately collapsed onto the floor. His face was extremely tense, his mouth trembling as he tried to breathe. Vuong Diep anxiously looked at his hand, which no longer had the red gloves. Wondering did the gloves fuse into his hand. It seemed that there were a total of 3 types of powers gradually recovering after the pain to awaken his supernatural ability. Vuong Diep slowly stood up. His eyes squinted as if analyzing. Normally, after a supernatural power awakens a certain part, there is only 1 type of power. A few gifted people might have 2 types. Vuong Diep walked out the door quietly, thinking a person who can have 3 types of power is a top-tier powerhouse. Having more than 1 type of power greatly enhances one's strength. Right after leaving that room, he immediately collapsed onto the sofa in the living room, exhausted. He thought with satisfaction at last. Vuong Diep lay on the sofa, slowly lifting his own hand to stare at it. He seriously and thoughtfully reassessed his condition after the awakening. When facing supernatural events, he now had his own trump card. Vuong Diep just lay there sleeping until early the next morning. While resting his arm over his eyes, the phone on the table kept ringing repeatedly with incoming calls. At the same time, in Chu Ham's room, she was naked, sitting on the bed. Chu Ham's eyes looked at her painted nails as her neck tilted slightly, holding the phone between her shoulder and ear. Person answering the call. "Darling, let's get to work." Yes, Diep is on the phone. At this moment, he was awake and coldly responded. Chu Ham immediately used a coquettish and sulky tone, so it's that cold attitude again, unlike my soft and charming voice. Chu Ham continued smiling cheerfully as if nothing had happened. "But this time we will meet to cooperate, finally an opportunity." Tilting his head down, he replied with a soft yes. Vuong Diep ignored Chu Ham's words, picked up a glass of water from the table, and asked, "I need the address documents about Lee. Logistics staff do not need to carry out frontline missions." Vuong Diep recalled the image of Trong Tu Lung smiling slyly full of schemes. He frowned tensely as he greeted himself, his sharp eyes clearly suspicious. Looks like he has his own ambitions. Reform or something else. Chu Ham on the other end told him, "Check the news yourself. If you're late, I will have every reason to cut your pay." Then she seemed to urge and reminded Wang Ye, "I only have 30 minutes left." Hearing her say that Wang Ye kept his phone stance unchanged, his expression barely shifting. He bent slightly forward, eyes looking up at the notice on the computer. Information about the crying ghost caused 52 employees to be trapped in the Shangjing City amusement park. He pondered this information for a long time, then made an assessment, but still with some doubt, second-level ghost zone. Wang Ye sat in front of the computer screen, eyes focused on the scrolling text, thoughtfully thinking. It's currently at the initial stage. After that, Vinda and the ghost zone have not yet been divided. Then a level list was assigned for this type of ghost zone. Wang Ye leaned back in his chair, picked up a pen on the desk, and twirled it. He carefully compared this ghost with the previous one. Like the previous office building, the light illusion couldn't block the signal. It was just a primary-level ghost zone. Then, piecing together the available information, he confirmed that the ghost in the amusement park could affect vision block phone positioning signals and create hallucinations. It belonged to the second-level ghost zone. Seeing the time approaching, Wang Ye stood straight up. He held a brown rope wrapped around his waist. His hand gripped the rope tightly, his expression calm, eyes looking down as if pondering. After that, it was no longer a type that ordinary people like him could approach. After a while, Wang Ye finally arrived at the amusement park. He saw a huge bizarre gate right in front of him. It was shaped like a gigantic demon face with 2 eye sockets glowing bright pink. Seeing Wang Ye approach, the annoyed voice of Dian Qi shouted, "The logistics team told us to wait for you." Really bold. Hearing that, Wang Ye frowned, looking in the direction the voice came from. Ahead of him stood 2 men. One was tall, with neatly cropped black hair and a well-trimmed goatee. He wore a gray sports jacket with a zipper and dark athletic pants. In contrast, the other man was muscular, bald-headed, wearing a tight black t-shirt with a thick white cloth wrapped around his waist. So those 2 were the supernaturally powered elders Dian Qi and Fo Bei. Suddenly, a sweet voice called out to Dian Qi. The one calling Dian Qi was the supernaturally powered elder Chu Ham, with the title Moon Law. She was sucking on a pale pink lollipop, looking both charming and cute. Her tone was both innocent and challenging as she asked, "Is this your connection? Are you trying to pick a fight with me?" Hearing Chu Ham Dian Chi immediately shut up his face, showing fear and awkwardness, unsure what to say. Seeing the tension, Fo Bei stepped forward, grabbed Dian Chi's shoulder, and smiled at Chu Ham to ease the situation. "Ha ha, next we still need to cooperate. Don't be so tough." She immediately turned to Wang Ye, slightly bowed, and looked at him affectionately and sweetly. "You are Wang Ye, right? I will protect you." Chu Ham's charming face moved close to Wang Ye's. Her slender fingers gently touched his chin and lifted it slightly. In a tone both threatening and teasing, she said, "Anyway, I have to personally twist your head." Wang Ye looked straight into her eyes, his expression a bit embarrassed. He quietly reminded her, "Now is not the time for empty words." Fo Bei behind saw Chu Ham's action and interrupted. "All right, since everyone is here, let's get started." At that moment, Wang Ye finally noticed Fo Bei. He sharply assessed this guy. He seemed generous, but this guy also appeared warm-hearted. But after a few conversations, he resolved conflicts quietly. He was actually the deepest insider in the city. Dianqi then turned to prepare for action, but coldly reminded those behind the 3 logistics guys stay close. "If you don't croak, no one will take responsibility." 6 people, including 2 staff members, Vuong Diep and Chu Ham, led by Dian Tat and Fat Bak, began to enter the amusement area. The deeper they went, the louder and more sorrowful the cries became. The more they listened, the more tragic it seemed. Vuong Deep frowned thoughtfully as he walked, feeling that the cries sounded somewhat mournful. It seemed the crying was affecting emotions. He slowly followed the group, silently noting. After entering the ghost zone, the crying grew louder. Fatback walking nearby also had to turn his head, frowning as he said to those behind, "Do you all feel it? The cries are getting louder and will seriously affect my emotions. I feel like I could burst into tears at any moment." Dien. That walking beside him couldn't help but curse. "Damn that old dong. I lent my Tin Hong squad, but those guys ran off like treasures. If we could use supernatural powers, it would be much easier to handle." Chu Ham was walking behind. Hearing this, he sighed deeply, folded his arms, and said with encouragement, "The Tin Hong squad's treasures have limited supernatural power use. On what basis should I lend them to you, Dien?" That clenched his teeth tightly when she said that. The 2 women seemed to sense something and simultaneously turned to look back, the face crying in pain and misery. The female staff behind looked down at him with a worried and confused expression. Vuong Deep stared closely at him, inspecting. Suddenly, someone in the team clutched his head and cried miserably, I miss my little sister." Another team member, feeling sympathy, quickly explained, 3 months ago his little sister died at a supernatural event. Suddenly, his face distorted. His eyes turned completely white as he screamed in pain. His facial muscles twisted strangely. Gradually, his limbs curled up and he collapsed unconscious on the ground. Fatback quickly approached to check but helplessly announced, "He's croaked." Dianthat said with regret, "Just 10 minutes in and someone's already dead." "Weren't the ordinary people previously locked up?" Vuong Deep frowned, deeply pondering. "Does the killing rule include crying? Crying leads to emotional changes and tempts people to burst into tears. After crying, the killing rule activates, causing death." The woman in the team, terrified, was also tearing up, her voice choked. Dead, I don't want to die." He quickly covered her mouth, trying to soothe her. "Don't cry. If you don't want to die, swallow your tears." Seeing her pale face, she obediently followed. Vuong Deep thought about how people with such poor psychological qualities could be in the logistics department. Meanwhile, Dien Tat and Fat Bak carefully considered the current situation. "I feel this supernatural event is not that simple." "Yeah, useless people getting in through connections are all worthless. I really don't know what those above are thinking. Without them holding me back, I could solve this easily." He silently listened to everything. The suffocating atmosphere in the logistics department now mostly consists of people who got in through connections. He helped the woman stand up while seriously thinking, Truong Tu Luong wants to reform by driving out involved households through threatening their lives. That Truong fellow is not simple. He acts aggressively without hesitation or mercy. After speaking, Dien That scowled angrily and turned to leave, continuing forward, making use of time to find the source of that thing and deal with it. He cast a cold gaze at the group without saying a word. Impatient ones will croak sooner than everyone else. He and the others continued advancing deeper into the scene. Suddenly, the man's corpse from earlier twisted his mouth into a sinister grin. His eyes suddenly opened wide with pupils glowing bright red. A strange aura radiated around him. He forced himself to stand in a daze. Quietly, he watched the backs of the group as they disappeared into the distance. Meanwhile, at Truong Tu Duong's office, Sam gently spoke. "Why does the logistics department want the staff liaison to join frontline work this time?" Truong Tu, with a serious face and low voice, asked softly. "Duong-sam, you've been in logistics for a year now, right?" He cleared his throat and said at length, "In this year, you've probably seen the environment of the logistics department clearly. Everyone in the squad sees this place as a nursing home. It's not that I opened a charity and the heavenly ancestor is the same. Moreover, not only the logistics department, even the heavenly ancestor is a bit chaotic. If we don't act now, it will be too late." He immediately handed Doong-sam a stack of important documents. The team leader introduced a new policy after 1 month of establishing Squad A. There are a total of 3 squads, each squad with 5 members on the roster. Looking very thoughtful, he carefully instructed him, "I want to compete for a position along with the resource advantages of the logistics department. Our voice will be much stronger. At the same time, we will put certain pressure on the intelligence and combat departments to make them more serious. But our contributions are not enough. It seems like the logistics team is all ordinary people." He clasped his hands tightly, eyes deep and solemn voice firm. "Contributions need to be filled with lives." Doong-sam's face froze upon hearing Truong Tu's words. Contributions need to be filled with lives. He broke into a cold sweat, eyes filled with worry, mouth trembling. "That means many people will die." Truong Tu's eyes were sharp with a hint of warning, his voice resolute as he repeated, "Every reform needs to be cleansed with blood. Too many people are involved here. Today's event is just the beginning. In the next month, all logistics staff will carry out missions. Only survivors are true talents." At this moment at the amusement park, Vung Diep's group was still cautiously probing the situation. Dean That waved his hand in annoyance, complaining, "We've run into a ghost. This freak looks very similar to the one before." Suddenly, Fatbok frowned and stared straight ahead. The family signaled that something was coming from that direction, making him pay close attention. This guy's instincts are too sharp. In the distance, a shadow was approaching through the faint smoke. The woman from that team immediately covered her mouth, tears threatening to spill, voice trembling. "It's him!" The man from earlier limped step by step toward them, voice filled with resentment. "Why did you leave me behind?" Why? Facing him directly caused the woman to fall into a state of sorrow and chaos. Unconsciously, he rushed quickly to the group, shouting in accusation, "You left me behind again, crazy!" Dientat and Fatback didn't hesitate and stepped up ready to fight. Watching from behind, he felt a bit interested and thought, "These two are interesting." Instantly, he pulled out a sharp dagger. In the blink of an eye, he struck a fatal blow to the neck of the man from that team. His body emitted a dark energy. He kept asking why. Without hesitation, he delivered several more slashes directly at him. He launched the final strike directly finishing off the man from that team. The woman from the team sat collapsed on the ground, powerless, sobbing bitterly. In an instant, her body was completely destroyed. Dientat approached the corpse, writhing on the ground, looked down with contempt and cursed, "Trash." After finishing, he focused energy in his souls to activate his power, then mercilessly stomped hard on the woman's corpse in the amusement park. Dientat showed disdain and mocked them. "See that? This is true power. Your dagger move just now was like a useless piece of trash." Vung Diep ignored it and walked straight ahead, not forgetting to coldly scold him. "Stupid! If you waste your powers like that at most, you'll be preparing your funeral in 3 months." Hearing this, he felt insulted and could only grit his teeth in frustration. Suddenly, Fatback heard movements nearby and shouted loudly, "Who's there?" Then he quickly chased after the shadow. Vung Diep and Dientat just stood watching. Vung Diep's group also quickly chased after the man. The man caught the employee, violently pinned him to the ground, one hand grabbing his head, the other tightly holding his arm. Vung Diep ran over, making the man panic and beg, "Don't kill me, don't kill me." Finally, Vung Diep's group arrived. The man only said 2 sentences. One was "Udien. That came over, I thought you were all dead." Although scared, the employee still mustered courage to ask them, "Did you come to save us?" "Yes." Vung Diep stepped closer and sat down beside him, kindly asking, "Are there any other survivors on your side?" He honestly replied, "Yes, I was responsible for repairing the Ferris wheel. When the incident happened, I was with a few other staff members." He was asked how many people, and he recounted, "There were originally 6 people, now only 5 remain. One person cried so much he passed out." I helped him up and said, if you don't want the others to pass out too quickly, take us there. Before he could react, Dien, that couldn't stand it anymore and kicked him, lead the way, hurry! So he led them. Suddenly, Chu-Ham felt something was off, so she turned around to look behind her. She walked slowly, cautiously, glancing around. On the Ferris wheel, a child was trapped inside a cabin. Very frightening. His eyes were bloodshot as if watching their every move. Back to Voongdeep's group while they were walking suddenly, there was a noise. He grabbed the employee's shoulder to stop him. Meanwhile, he scanned around to scout the situation. Then he kicked the door hard. The door fell down. Inside, a group of people were huddled fearfully in a corner. The girl was lying on the ground, clutching her own neck with both hands. Her eyes rolled back. Next to her was an employee who had also transformed into a beast. That guy was spotted by him. In a flash, he attacked, but he was no match. Very quickly, he grabbed the guy's hand. A master shows his true skill when needed. With one move, he knocked the guy down, sending him flying, scaring the employee senseless. Dienthet, full of killing intent, advanced toward him. The guy smiled slyly. Was he provoking me? Then he kicked high into the guy's chin. After kicking, he didn't forget to glance toward Fat Bak, taunting, "How about that?" But the guy didn't care, keeping his cold expression. He then approached Voongdeep sarcastically, asking, "Is your head harder than his?" The tense atmosphere was suddenly broken when Chu-Ham informed them she had found it. She cast a spell to locate the target. She opened her eyes, her gaze fixed in that direction as she said, "Over there," pointing to the giant Ferris wheel. She gave them a clue that the origin was there. Up there, Kui Nam, with his bottomless eyes, was watching them. His gaze only increased Dienthet's interest. He feared nothing. On the contrary, he seemed to be challenging the demonic thing that was apparently there. He rushed quickly toward the child, then sat down and propelled himself like a rocket onto the Ferris wheel cabin. He kept banging on the cabin door but couldn't open it, cursing loudly. Suddenly, there was a noise inside the cabin that startled him a bit. Unable to gather anything, he had to jump down. When he landed, he frowned and said, "I can't find it anymore." Hearing this, Fat Bak turned to ask Chu-Ham, "Can you probe the position of that thing?" She shook her head helplessly. "It's gone." He also evaluated the child. This demonic thing was too cunning. Voongdeep came over to explain to them that the demonic thing was the cause of the demon zone. This belonged to a slightly higher-level demon zone. In the demon zone, demons have abilities like teleportation. The stronger the demon's power, the faster its speed. It can teleport farther. Currently, that thing can't teleport very far. His eyes darkened. He was a little worried inside. The concept of a level 2 demon zone hasn't appeared yet. This was the best explanation he could give them. Fat Bak, after hearing this, thought silently about teleportation. Meanwhile, Dienthet's face grew even darker. Many doubts arose in his mind about how he knew this information. Chu-Ham looked seriously at Voongdeep, asking evenly, "Then how should we break the spell?" He answered directly, "Unless it's a higher-level demon zone." His expression was extremely cautious. He immediately continued without pause, "However, we can split up and surround it from the front. As soon as anyone spots it, especially since it's already used teleportation, immediately encircle it. It can't use it twice in a short time." Suddenly, a stern male voice rang out. Dienthet's attitude was somewhat disdainful as he criticized, "Is that you? The three of us all have the ability to stop demons, but you're just an ordinary person. Do you really deserve to?" He frowned. His expression was calm. With a cold tone, he replied, "How will we know if we don't try? If I went to sell salt, I wouldn't blame you either, right?" Dienthet still kept his hostile attitude while Fat Bak stepped forward with a gentle tone to soothe his comrade. "I believe you wouldn't joke with my life. I agree with your proposal," without hesitation. Voongdeep's sharp eyes gleamed with absolute determination. "All right, next we spread out. If you spot a demon, shout out. He just used teleportation once, can't go too far, so our encirclement doesn't need to be too large." Suddenly, a voice from afar interrupted the conversation of the four. "Aren't you here to rescue us?" The shareholders and their staff swarmed over, complaining, "Don't leave. That's right, you can't just leave us here. Don't take us with you. Do you think we won't report you when we get back?" He put on an angry face, clenched his fist, and shouted, "Listen here. I am a shareholder of this amusement park. You have to get me out. No matter what demons or ghosts, my life is worth a lot." Calmly. He spoke coldly. "You're afraid of demons, but you know demons have no consciousness. Moreover, it would truly slaughter you." Each word Voongdeep spoke was like a sharp blade aimed at the shareholders. "You fear killers, but don't appreciate those who save your lives, right?" This made the shareholders and their staff momentarily scared and speechless. "What?" He stepped closer to him, pressuring posture. "Who said that when government agents come, they must rescue you?" His eyes reddened. His voice hardened, emphasizing each word. "Our mission is to eliminate demons. What does your so-called life or death have to do with me? I can let the demons massacre you first, then go seal them. The old shareholder immediately became terrified. He hurriedly knelt on the ground, begging, I have money. I have a lot of money. As long as I live, I can give you everything. I swear. He turned his head back indifferently and said, Ignore them, just act. Chuham suddenly showed an amused expression. Smiling confidently and intriguingly, she led the charge, then I'll take this side. Good luck, everyone. Despite the shareholders kneeling and begging desperately, he just walked on. Wang Diep firmly reminded Dien That and Fat Bak, whoever encounters a demon is unlucky. His face revealed no emotion, silently passing by. After all, holding back demons alone for a while still consumes a lot of physical energy. Dien Tut and Fat Bak looked completely puzzled. The four of them exchanged glances in silence. Dien That, still arrogant, immediately retorted, I always feel the first person to meet the demon will be you. His face was very serious, his voice suppressed as he said, Who can say these things for sure? Quietly walking through the dark path, Wang Diep thought, Doesn't this demon have a different killing pattern? He narrowed his eyes in deep thought. Reasoning this one is a level 2 abyss demon, the method to kill it isn't just based on crying. If it had other powers, these staff would have been killed long ago. So why are there survivors? Suddenly, a sinister laugh echoed, catching his attention. He looked toward where Dien That was standing. It was Dien That's voice. This guy's luck isn't very good either. He seriously looked at Wang Diep and pleaded. This demon is already tied up by me. Quickly take care of it, Wang Diep silently observed. For a moment, the other power he showed was binding demons, but he didn't know how long the limit was. He walked up to Dien That and calmly replied, I'm just an ordinary person. I can't seal it, can't do anything. Making Dien That grit his teeth in frustration. Can't do anything. I will destroy you. Suddenly, Fat Bak appeared from somewhere, offering to help. Let me. His eyebrows furrowed tightly, serious and highly focused. Wang Diep immediately noticed something strange. His eyes flashed with alertness. The Buddha clan inside Wang Diep's mind was lost in his own thoughts after Vinda Buddha Kingdom closed its gates, and the disciples went into seclusion. Why did a Buddha clan appear in the inner city of Thuangkin? In the previous life, when several cities suffered disasters, many times calls for help to the Buddha Kingdom went unanswered. Since then, the Buddha clan was branded as cruel. How could they send the Buddha clan to complete a mission? He silently observed the whole situation, indicating that this person in front of him was always hiding his true identity. But now, upon being exposed, he showed no fear at all. When he realized Buddha Bak's intention, it was also the moment the man took action. Did he want to kill the witness? The man put on a friendly face and laughed, Ha ha, maybe you've guessed my identity already. Dien Tut beside him still didn't realize and angrily shouted, Now is not the time for useless words. Quickly seal him. I can't suppress him anymore. Buddha Bak looked at him with annoyance, then decisively delivered a critical, scorching strike. Dien Tut was immediately knocked down, lying flat on the ground without any care. The man continued to cultivate power, then turned to Wang Diep and confessed he thought he had the right to cooperate with me, borrowing my resources to climb higher thinking. He had the same Buddha clan status as me. Do you think he's ridiculous? His mouth curled into a sinister smile. Indeed. He doesn't understand how terrifying the strength of our Buddha clan really is. Wang Diep became cautious, his hoarse voice full of vigilance. As expected, this demon is suppressed. Finally understanding why the level 2 abyss demon's method of destruction is so ordinary. But seeing Buddha Bak gradually approaching made him continuously calculate. The Buddha clan's power is indeed mysterious, able to even control demons. Buddha Bak's expression was sinister, his sharp mouth curling into a devilish smile. Sir, are you waiting for Chow Ham? She won't come anymore. Full of provocation, he stepped closer to him, mocking, I've led her far away, you and Dien that aren't scared enough. Besides, her intuition told me she can't do anything. Without flinching, his face completely cold, he calmly replied, It seems you are the Buddha clan's mole hiding within Thien To. You want higher benefits, more information, and a higher position. You fabricate supernatural events yourself, boosting your own merit, and the more people die, the more serious the supernatural event, the greater your merit. Smirking, Buddha Bak was somewhat excited and praised, Indeed, sir, you are very knowledgeable. From the start, you have been smarter than Dien That. He immediately became alert, his sharp eyes questioning him back. Are you praising me? But doing this too much will get you discovered very dangerous unless it's unavoidable. Could it be that there's some movement from the government? He didn't hesitate to reveal the government is about to form a squad. His expression instantly became complicated thoughts flashing through his mind. So, that's it. The government squad has huge benefits, top-tier information, and weapons. He looked directly into the man's eyes, his aura overwhelming as he said, "But do you really think you can defeat me?" Making the man become cautious, too. In an instant, Buddha Bok's face hardened as he urgently ordered a male demon to rush forward and fall. Buddha's compassion. His brows furrowed but unshaken. He just breathed deeply and focused his power in his palm, waiting for him to get close. When their eyes met, the male demon suddenly froze in pain. He quickly struck a critical blow to the demon's stomach, then lifted the male demon into the air with one hand, eyes never leaving Buddha Bok. A slight smirk on his lips, his voice challenging, "Is that all you've got?" Buddha Bok immediately turned pale, his mind chaotic, exclaiming, "You're not an ordinary person. If I had known earlier you were a psychic, I wouldn't have dealt with that so quickly. This guy clearly has a stronger threat." Blue veins popped on his face, suppressing his anger as he retorted, "I was just distracted, but still, you're not my match." He threw the male demon in his hand away to another spot. "Another trick I know, just relying on this little demon can't control a level 2 abyss demon." Eerie laughter echoed in the silent space. A female demon sneaked up behind Wang Diep, a hand with sharp claws suddenly lunged. Calmly, Wang Diep directly used ropes to deal with the female demon. He tightly bound her and then roughly dragged her away. With one hand, he lifted her trembling body, then instantly threw her back to where Fat Bok was standing. "Is that all the skill you have?" His brows furrowed tightly in anger. Unwilling to submit, he sneered stubbornly, defending himself. "I admit I wasn't focused, but maybe you've lost your trump card too." Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his body, controlling the two demons. For me, that's too forced. Without hesitation, he immediately charged to counterattack. "Then fight quickly and win quickly." He stood still. Calmly, he asked, "Don't you think you underestimated others too much?" Just as he was startled and holding the man back, a sword flashed past the man's neck. What he didn't finish speaking before his head was severed from his neck. Silent, he coldly watched the man's entire fate from afar. Only then did Chu Ham gently appear and speak, "Little brother, when did you notice me?" She gave a slight pleased smile and calmly sheathed her sword. When she approached, he straightforwardly stated his position. "Each of us gets an equal share of the credit." Chu Ham looked at the two unconscious demons on the ground and responded, "You caught them yourself. Besides, I believe even if I hadn't acted, you could have handled this guy. So you're being kind by sharing the credit with me." His face showed no emotion as he replied in a low voice, "You can't survive long eating alone. Even without me, you probably could have easily taken down this guy and the two demons." Miss Chu Ham has been pretending to be clueless all along, annoying. While cleaning up the scene, he carefully reminded her, "I believe you know how to report the situation properly when we go out." She pouted, somewhat sulking in her reply. "I know who has the time to deal with the troublesome Buddha clan anyway." Calm and inscrutable Wang Diep seemed unfazed by everything happening. He only cared about the supernatural power. "After all, I'm just an ordinary person lucky enough to have a rare mystical artifact." Chu Ham pressed her lips slightly, a bit dissatisfied, thinking her mom was right that men are always cunning. "But I'll keep your secret, little brother." She tilted her head, a sly smile, curling her lips, then leaned close to whisper in his ear, "It just seems harder to twist your neck now." Night fell over a gloomy park as Hua Troc gathered a team of employees standing at attention. Troc ordered the staff to prepare to enter and conduct the Vice Minister rescue operation. Troc adjusted his tie and said, "The others go with a few doctors to provide quick treatment." He asked, "Why are only 2 people coming out?" 2 people emerged from inside Chu Ham and Wang Diep. Troc stepped forward, puzzled. "Only 2? Where is everyone else?" Chu turned toward a ghostly figure, a boy tied up in blue light. Troc asked. "Chu, weren't there supposed to be 2 of them? Where's the other one?" Wang Diep cleared his throat. Ahem. In his hand was a thick rope binding the girl. The girl knelt, her head banging hard against the ground. Troc was shocked, thinking to himself, this guy is not normal. Was he sent to die by Truong Tu Lang? Wang Diep tilted his head and said, "Please, could you stop staring? Lock them up first." Hua Troc stammered, "Oh, all right, thanks for your hard work. Have someone seal and imprison the 2 captured." 2 red lights were sucked into a yellow jar. Yes. Wang Diep watched the car drive away, thinking that in this era, to keep living, you have to stay humble. He called out loudly, "If that's all, I'll head off first." As the car drove farther, Chu watched it go excitedly, saying that was definitely an interesting part. But a loud scream came from a tall building. He said, "Is that for real?" "Is it Trong Tu Ong's voice?" He slammed the table and shouted, "Fine! Duong Sam stood nearby, teasing missing your wife already. He trembled with anger and shouted, "Get lost!" Then continued. Wang Diep survived. He was surprised, oh. Even an ordinary person can survive if they're just a bit careless. Is it really necessary to get so worked up? Besides, you don't actually think the logistics team is useless that no one can survive, do you? Then this isn't an assessment. It's an assassination attempt. Besides, I'm impressed by Wang Ye. His performance was quite good. Mr. Zhang leaned back and replied, if he had only survived, I wouldn't have to get so worked up. His expression turned serious as he continued. Not only did he survive, he also suppressed a demon. This time, everyone underestimated the supernatural event. Then both supernatural users ended up dead inside. What does this mean? I don't need to say much more. Yang Sam responded excitedly. Are you serious? Mr. Zhang stroked his chin and muttered, this means my plan is working. No new people yet, Wang Ye was still able to suppress a demon. So those ordinary elites who live easy and lazy can't put in effort even when it counts. At least those guys still have something. He chuckled and continued. I knew it all along. With my keen eye, I saw early on that Wang Ye wasn't an ordinary person. Ha ha! He slammed the table, stood up, and shouted, I want to meet Wang Ye! The car sped down the road. The driver turned back and said to Wang Ye, Minister Zhang wants to see you. He asked, meet me. He thought over it, but logistics wasn't his ultimate goal. Soon there might be a second outbreak, and the supernatural event will fully escalate. Without backing, it would be hard to survive further. He thought of Buddha North currently. Squad A was just formed. Soon an organization shadow formed from various squads will gain full official resources. This was also one of the original reasons I joined the logistics team. Using logistics to transfer Squad A to Shadow is my plan. After thinking it through, he exclaimed, I'll go meet the minister. The car raced down the empty road. He remained lost in thought. At the Tianzu headquarters in the office, the two met. Mr. Zhang spoke, you did very well this time. I didn't misjudge you, he replied calmly. Just okay. The demon's killing pattern this time was quite simple. Not too dangerous. Mr. Zhang picked up a cup of water from the table and said, but both supernatural users died this time. He continued they were very stupid. Mr. Zhang raised the cup while speaking and then drank. What reward do you want? Wang crossed his arms and replied indifferently, A-level intelligence clearance. Hearing that Mr. Zhang was so shocked he nearly spat out his water. Suddenly choking, Mr. Zhang struggled to say A-level intelligence clearance isn't that easy to get. You need at least 200 merit points. Right now you only have 25 merit points total. He answered thoughtfully. I've only been on the job for 7 days so far. Mr. Zhang put his hand on the table and said, oh no, that won't do. Change the requirement. After saying that, he pondered, this guy is really different from normal people. 7 days and you earned 25 merit points. He smiled lightly and said Squad A. He frowned at Wang Ye and leaned on the table, saying to him, young man, it seems your record isn't exactly clean either. Where did you hear about Squad A? He looked at him with indifference. He asked, you sent logistics people to the front line to die because of this, right? Mr. Zhang looked at him tensely. Outside the door, Yang Sam had started using his magic. He sat calmly and asked why so tense, Minister. Yang Sam outside listened to their entire conversation. The man continued, I am the minister. I am an employee. You want the logistics department to carry more weight. I also want to become stronger. Our interests align. He stood and continued, even if I die trying. You're still the minister holding real power, aren't you? Mr. Zhang smiled slyly and replied, interesting. You want investment from me? Zhang crossed his arms and looked seriously at Wang Ye. But I'm just an ordinary person. Why should I invest resources in you? Wang reached out to Duong Sam and said, who said I'm an ordinary person? He extended his hand and a red light appeared. The light pushed Duong Sam up high. Duong was surprised. Vuong lifted Duong Sam up high. Duong turned and said, what are you doing? Put me down. Mr. Truong was surprised. He dropped Duong, causing him to struggle for breath and fall down. Vuong looked at him and said, Minister, do you know my true strength yet? Are you satisfied? He reached out to him, no problem. Hope you will always be the most outstanding staff of the logistics department. The two of them shook hands in agreement. Duong looked up helplessly, yes. Vuong Diep and he stood looking down from a tall building. He asked, do these guys from the logistics department really hope they can earn merit and survive? He replied, they're just a bunch relying on connections anyway. If you don't want to sleep, you can resign. He turned back and said, besides, who said everyone in the logistics department is normal? He turned and replied, oh, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Earlier, as he stepped out the door, he thought this old fox sure holds grudges. But if he dares to act like that, he definitely has a hidden ace. Definitely. Duong looked calmly at Mr. Truong drinking water and asked Duong Sam, "What do you think of Vuong Diep's strength?" Duong rubbed his chin and said his power is at least enough that if he really intended to kill me just now, I wouldn't have the strength to resist. Mr. Truong shouted angrily, but he attacked me from behind. If I had time to prepare, He continued shyly. I definitely could have resisted a little. Mr. Truong leaned back in his chair and said, "Promote Vuong Diep to team leader of Team 2. Assign him to the vacant position. Send someone to deliver the latest equipment from the department." Duong obeyed and responded clearly. Duong picked up the phone and called, asking, "What exactly is this guy?" The test results clearly showed no supernatural powers. Mr. Truong sighed. "Don't report this for now to avoid the lab lunatics taking him away for experiments. That would be too unfortunate." Back home, Vuong sat heavily on the mattress, thinking the plan has reached its first step and is starting smoothly. It's just that after awakening supernatural powers, the two hands seem a bit out of sync with the rest of the body. Is this the price of using supernatural powers? He raised his trembling hands, thinking about what it means for a body to have supernatural powers. He further thought if it continues like this, the hands will overconsume the body's energy and other parts will gradually decay. He needs to quickly awaken the second part to support the energy. He looked at the calendar and circled the 10th of the year. He thought since awakening through the post office, the danger has greatly decreased. Really looking forward to the next part of the post office. Yes? Vuong sat seriously in front of the screen, thinking these past few days have been extremely quiet. The logistics department hasn't assigned any tasks to him either. He heard sounds from outside and saw resignation letters falling down. Everyone in the logistics department stood thoughtfully. He thought while recalling this, Trong Tu Lan keeps sending people to the front lines, causing most staff to resign. But unexpectedly after such screening, the logistics department has 12 supernatural power holders with strength not to be underestimated. He stepped out thinking further, although every mission is quite dangerous, the rewards are huge. Otherwise, I probably couldn't negotiate terms with Trong Tu Lang either. He was surprised the letter was coated in syrup. Looks like the difficulty of this mission is not low. The previous syrup-coated letters were scattered on the floor next to a key. He opened the letter and said, "Even if the post office's missions are dangerous, they're still manageable." After reading the letter, he spoke the official transfer of tasks previously were all internship checks. If so, after the official transfer, the authority might be greater. The vehicle was covered in a pink glow. He wondered, is this the post office's vehicle? Could the post office really transmit supernatural energy into reality? He got into the car and closed the door. He wiped dust off the car while coughing continuously. He touched the steering wheel and said the feeling of this steering wheel was a bit strange, like human skin. He was driving on the road when a large truck suddenly rushed out. He quickly swerved to the back to avoid the truck, but still scraped against it. He looked in the mirror and saw the car was unharmed. He responded that this delivery vehicle could pass through objects. The system panel popped up. He was surprised to see the mission location was the wasteland area. After Vin Da, the world became a wasteland. A series of bones and heads smashed the glass and flew out. God stood above to subdue the demons. He thought and continued speaking. Buddhism relies on a mystical foundation, forcibly opening a pure land to establish a Buddhist kingdom. The religion formed a clear yin-yang map. He continued mumbling that with the help of the religion, the government opened 10 new cities. Even so, terrifying supernatural events frequently broke out within the cities. The car sped straight into the wasteland. This desolate land was the playground of demons. The demons showed their faces to him. Although the wasteland was dangerous, it was full of opportunities. Those supernatural users with nowhere else to go would choose to come to the wasteland to seek chances. They were called the 10 Wastelanders, but 99% of them were already dead. Vuong Diep's driving posture remained very relaxed with no sign of fear. It said that the 1% who survive bring back very valuable things. Even though the wasteland was a life-or-death place, he believed in it. Thinking this, he suddenly pressed the gas pedal to accelerate. The post office wouldn't issue a mission that couldn't be completed. Vuong Diep couldn't help but smirk proudly. The car sped along, leaving behind a scene no one wanted to look back at. At that moment, in a pitch-dark apartment, there was a suspicious shadow. Suddenly, that person raised their head, revealing a face similar to Vuong Diep's. Chu Ham outside let out a sly laugh. Little brother definitely wouldn't expect me to come back looking for him. Suddenly, the door swung open. Vuong Diep glanced through the gap with a vacant look. He looked at the person in front of him. Chu Ham smiled brightly with a very fake tone. "Hello, Mr. Vuong." But before she could finish a word, Vuong Diep walked away. She watched his back and smirked slyly. Then Chu Ham threw out countless small throwing knives, aiming for a sneak attack. She aimed straight for the back of Vuong Diep's neck. Chu-Ham was confident she could do it and smiled arrogantly. The throwing knives pierced through his body, sticking into all 4 limbs of Vung Diep. The space seemed to freeze. A second later, the parts detached. Vung Diep's head did too. It rolled on the floor. Chu-Ham slowly stepped forward, laughing with delight at achieving her goal. Finally cut off this guy's limbs. She leisurely took out her phone to check in and commemorate the moment of victory. After a bit of finishing up, Chu-Ham left humming a cheerful, lively tune. She was very polite and even closed the door before leaving. At this time, the room returned to its original quiet. Chu-Ham didn't know when the head had opened its eyes wide and crazily. Vung Diep's car was still driving very leisurely. Suddenly, a demon crawling on the road appeared ahead, causing an obstruction. Vung Diep was so annoyed he cursed out loud. Fate isn't supposed to be this demon getting in the way. But as the car rolled near, the demon hurriedly crawled to the roadside. Through the rearview mirror, he also saw that scene. On both sides of the road and the cliff, countless demons stood. But they just stood aside, observing Vung Diep. The question was, were the demons also afraid of this delivery car? Suddenly, he opened his eyes wide, sensing something unusual. Not far ahead of his car, a demon sat behind a fire bowl. It covered itself completely, showing only its face emitting sounds. Every word it spoke turned into flying letters around Vung Diep. They quickly circled around him, making him stunned. Vung Diep covered his ears, his head extremely uncomfortable. Annoying, the skill was like the demon's cries in the amusement park. Struggling to drive with one hand, he decided to accelerate. If the demon feared the mail truck, this would be how to disrupt it. But surprisingly, this demon didn't try to dodge like the others before. It stayed in place, even opening its mouth wide and uttering more words. Wang Ye's mind was in chaos. This one isn't scared. Should I ram it or take a detour? He had no choice but to grip the steering wheel and make a gentle swerve. The car slid just enough to dodge this crazy demon. The car then stabilized. Fortunately, it didn't chase after him. Wang Yi was sweating bullets and still a bit dazed. How powerful is this demon, after all? If it appeared in a populated area, the consequences would be unimaginable. Now he truly saw the danger. Wang Yi shivered and swallowed nervously. The red letter's mission was indeed not simple. He feared there was even more danger behind it. He continued driving deeper. Tombstones appeared on both sides of the road. Wang Yi felt a bit uneasy. This place looked exactly like the fateful suburban cemetery. The car was forced to pass through, surrounded on both sides by layers of gravestones. What on earth was this situation? Suddenly, a house appeared in front of him. Wang Yi was stunned, seeing it lying among the graves. This wooden house was exactly like the suburban cemetery. Looking closer, he saw a shadow in the window. Wang Yi felt chills down his spine, sweating and scared. It was an old man holding a lantern, slowly smiling at him. Wang Yi gritted his teeth, focusing on driving faster. Pale and ghostly white was this deep in the wilderness. How could anyone live in such a haunted place? His car kicked up thick dust wherever it went. As Wang Yi's shadow disappeared, the door slowly creaked open. The old man came out now, showing a cunning, unreadable expression. One hand gripped the steering wheel tightly, the other wiped sweat pouring from the tension. Only now did Wang Yi feel relief. The cemetery stretched 10 kelong. Luckily, he got through. He kept watching the map. Now he was quite close to the destination, but many wandering spirits still loitered and teased along the road ahead. Wang Yi lamented as he drove. This mail truck wasn't enough to feel safe. Suddenly, a mansion appeared ahead. It looked beautiful, but was pitch dark inside. As the car approached, the dagger under his foot suddenly emitted white smoke. Wang Yi noticed the reaction, picked it up to test, and realized it was the old building from Dao Rock Bone's memories. It suddenly glowed brighter, the smoke drifting straight toward his head. Wang Yi clutched his head, gritting his teeth in apparent pain. He felt as if hands holding knives were stabbing straight at his face. Wang Yi panicked slightly, shaking his head, trying to stay alert. What exactly was this haunted place? Too many terrifying entities. Just then, the car passed by Toa Viet. Just beyond the door, an eye seemed to watch him through a crack. Of course, he missed it. He pressed forward toward a faint, flickering light. Getting closer, he saw it was a stage with performers and an audience. All ghosts, especially the one dancing with bright eyes and dark lips. Wang Yi couldn't help but stare at her for a long time. Suddenly, his whole body froze. A dark, enchanting voice whispered in his ear, "Come here, come listen to the play, don't leave." The strange audience outside slowly advanced. He reached out his hand, endlessly coaxing, "Come here." Wang Yi quickly placed his hand on the door latch, locking it tight. A thin thread of drool dripped from his mouth down his face. Tense. Suddenly, pounding on the door echoed stirring fear in Wang Yi's heart. The sounds from this stage were even more terrifying than the demon's cries before. Suddenly, a shadow of a hand appeared on the car window. Looking far ahead, it was a giant arm. Wang Yi's heart pounded wildly. His eyes showed pure terror. "My heart feels like it's being squeezed tightly by someone." He places his hand there, gripping hard to ease the pain. This strange player, just by looking once, makes one feel an overwhelming pressure. Wang Yi tries to calm down. He looks up and observes again. This thing and the severed hand were drawn on the embroidered painting labeled 10 in room 404. What exactly is the connection? It was hovering above the audience's heads when Wang suddenly arrived. Immediately, the palms slammed hard onto the ground, sending stones flying everywhere. The force was no light one. It even caused a minor earthquake. The ground cracked wide, splitting in two. Wang Ye's vehicle swerved wildly as he tried to dodge, nearly flipping over. He hurriedly brought his hand to his stomach and mouth to stop the syrup flowing through his finger. His tone was extremely panicked. "No, we have to leave here quickly. The post office guided me to these two locations that are closely connected to the yellow earth." As Wang Ye pressed the gas to speed up, the arm behind also moved closer simultaneously. The mechanical sound of the locator kept ringing steadily 500 meters to the destination. Arriving at the destination really tightened everyone's nerves. But finally, the device signaled arrival. Wang Ye stopped the vehicle, grateful to have survived, and reached the spot. The wind suddenly howled. In front stood a female statue that looked very eerie. Now Wang Ye's real challenge was just beginning. He held the letter hesitantly. The mission notice said to give the letter to the first person he saw, but did not say to get off the vehicle. After all, this vehicle was his biggest safety shield right now. Just as he finished speaking, suddenly, a figure appeared in the rearview mirror. It was a middle-aged man dressed like a successful businessman. He always wore a very suspicious smile. Wang Ye hesitated and asked, "Are you the letter recipient?" Before he could hear the man's reply, the door silently opened all of a sudden. An old woman with almost no teeth came out shouting loudly, "Don't give it to him, he's not human!" Wang Yi was startled, not human. He felt confused inside. Silently cursing the cursed post office, the mission notice was a trap. The notice said, "Give the letter to the first person seen, but the devil is not human." The middle-aged man simply raised his hand and denied, "Don't be fooled by her, give me the letter." The old woman behind kept yelling, "No, give it here!" Wang Ye was surprised, wondering if these two were actually having a conversation, because it contradicted everything he knew from his past life. While handling countless events, no demon had ever shown emotional thought, let alone communication or dialogue. Now, it seemed, this was not the case. Demons do not have thought. Wang Yi was certain that at least one of the two in front of him was a high-level demon. He decided to close his eyes to clear his mind and think about how the post office would not assign an impossible mission. Where had he missed a detail? Suddenly, Wang Ye remembered something and opened his eyes. "I got it." The old woman and the letter recipient then saw the letter in Wang Ye's hand. He stepped forward and handed the letter to the recipient. The old woman couldn't believe it and said, "Why?" Then her body convulsed violently until her right eye popped out. Then the old woman suddenly transformed into a young woman. The young woman now asked curiously, "How did you figure it out?" Wang Ye then explained, "You have too many flaws. First, how could there be such an old woman deep in the yellow earth? Second, your personality is too ordinary. After Vinda, people with that kind of personality don't live long." Wang Ye pointed two fingers at the female demon and affirmed, "In the end, you always stand at the door of that house without stepping out. Maybe you're sealed." Hearing Wang Ye's flawless argument, she screamed in rage, "Ah!" The letter recipient next to her said, "Good, you're quite clever." Powerful dark energy streams flew out from his hands. He slowly approached the female demon. Mysterious dark energy also surrounded him. Seeing the scene in front of him, Wang Ye was astonished. He has awakened 5 parts. Just how strong is this guy really? I thought to myself, it seems like he's not at all unfamiliar with the mail from the post office. No suspicious looks. Wang Ye spoke up. "Do you know the post office?" However, just as he finished asking, a dazzling light burst out from the direction of the house, forcing him to cover his eyes. The light flashed briefly and then disappeared. Wang Ye immediately lowered his hand and looked around. Around him, the house was gone, replaced by a vast, desolate, empty space. Seeing this, he was a bit surprised. It's gone already. Wang Ye didn't stay surprised for long and quickly calmed down. He told himself that this world is still full of unknown things. But in the end, there will be a day when he will make this world. With determined eyes, he declared firmly, "No more secrets." At this moment, Wang Ye moved forward to get into the car. However, a stream of dark energy suddenly appeared, catching his attention. From afar, Wang Ye saw a person the source of the dark energy. It was a burly man dressed in ancient-style clothing. The closer he got, the more terrifying he appeared, especially since he had no face at all. Yes. Wang Ye didn't hesitate and immediately got into the car. He started turning the key to start the car, but it seemed not to work. Even after multiple tries, the car still wouldn't start. Yes. Wang Ye was a bit worried and shouted loudly, "Why won't it start?" The demon had already come to the window. Seeing him, Wang Ye was shocked at the facelessness. The car seemed to respond to his inner will and finally started. He pressed the gas pedal. The car began to roll. Seeing this, the demon stepped aside. At this moment, he could only see the back of the car gradually disappearing into the distance. However, right then, the demon's face began to change. His face transformed into Wang Ye's face. He laughed joyfully and said, "I have his face now. Curse him! Curse him!" Then suddenly he shouted loudly and a beam of dazzling light shot out from his face. Yes, the demon now looked around with his blood-red eyes. He collapsed trembling, clutching his face. His face suddenly began to disintegrate, and finally the face he had taken from Wang Ye completely disappeared. Then a mist started to form around the demon enveloping him. Back to Wang Ye, who had just escaped successfully while driving. He wondered, did that postman just now cause the car to stall? He recalled what had just happened and thought to himself, that morning song in that demon's hands might be a powerful spiritual artifact. Unfortunately, this mission didn't come with any treasure. At this moment, he remembered the tombstones he had passed by when crossing the ghost-free cemetery. It seemed those tombstones had the power to suppress demons. From afar behind Wang Ye's car appeared a red figure. It was the opera-singing female demon. She looked at Wang Ye's car and smiled silently. Wang Ye silently thought inside the car, "It seems like it's all quiet here now. Is this because of that demon?" After a while, he arrived at another house. Sitting in the car, Wang Ye quietly rejoiced. This time, the bone delivery had no reaction at all. Looks like the route back is much easier now. At this moment, he seemed to notice something on a nearby hill. Two figures appeared. Wang Ye suddenly recognized something and shouted, "On that hill is a battle between two people. One is wearing a Taoist robe, and the other has a body shining like a light bulb." At this moment, a giant hand descended from the sky and cut across their fight. Wang Ye quietly moved away from the battle from a distance. Wang Ye found this place interesting. He said, "Every mission from the post office gives a chance to show something, but the danger level here makes it hard to find opportunities to gain anything." After a while crossing a road, 3 yellow papers suddenly fell from above onto Wang Ye's car. Wang Ye immediately sensed something from the 3 sheets of paper. He swerved the car repeatedly to catch them. Holding the talisman in his hand, he thought to himself, "This cold aura seems to be controlling the supernatural power within my body." Knowing its function, Wang Ye immediately felt happy. If this talisman can suppress supernatural power, maybe it can extend the lifespan of the fake supernatural power user. Suddenly, a shadow appeared right in front of his car's nose. Seeing the shadow ahead, Wang Ye began to feel a bit scared. That strange fate. It was one of the demons he had encountered before. So Wang Ye placed the 3 talismans he just obtained into a box. Indeed, although dangerous, the benefits were promising. He put the box on his lap and happily said, "There might be a chance to safely scavenge extremely valuable treasures on the wasteland." A moment later, something shiny and golden appeared ahead of Wang Ye. Seeing this, he became joyful. Suddenly, another demon appeared behind it. Seeing this, Wang Ye felt a bit nervous. He swerved the car again to avoid the dense group of demons. Why is the demon behind so terrifying? Suddenly, he felt something wrong with the car. I didn't slow down, so why is the car moving slower? Outside the car, there was another demon now. It broke the window and attacked inside the car. At this critical moment, Wang Ye thought of a way to defeat it. It is said that fake supernatural power users can absorb external elements like demons to enhance their power. He tightly grabbed the demon's limbs. Wang Ye quickly jumped out of the car. The demon was stunned upon seeing this. He pinned the demon down, holding its 2 limbs in his hands. Wang Ye slowly drained its life force. "Looks like you're my prey now." Wang Ye tightened his grip again and pulled the demon's limbs out. While trying to absorb its energy, he shouted loudly, "Ah!" After a while, the demon was completely drained and collapsed. Suddenly, from behind him, a beam of light flew and struck the ground. Seeing that Wang Ye was surprised, who only then did he realize it wasn't a person, but a golden yellow arrow. Then Wang Ye noticed something else, a silhouette of a man rushing over at high speed. He immediately grabbed a rock and threw it at him. Seeing that the man jumped back to dodge, Wang Ye then focused his strength into his foot and jumped from above. He jumped down with a fiercely powerful red fist. Wang Ye punched the ground, causing the area in front of him to crack. Seeing his power, the man fell down in fear. Wang Ye cracked his wrist and slowly stepped toward him. Seeing the danger, the man tried to make peace. "Oh, my friend, you're misunderstanding. Hearing that Wang Ye questioned misunderstanding, the man then stepped closer and said, Looks like everyone here is a 10 wastelander. It's normal to want to grab good stuff when you find it. He raised both hands in surrender and continued. But right now, it's clear you have the right to have that. Let's just say I don't remember clearly. We add one story and subtract one story. How about that? Hearing him, Wang Ye felt amused. Ha, are you joking with me? If I hadn't reacted quickly to that arrow just now, I'd already be a corpse. The man replied, why must it be that way? The wasteland is so dangerous. If we start fighting, everyone loses right. Suddenly, the man was interrupted. That was Wang Ye trying to cut him off with a punch using awakened supernatural power. The man seemed drawn toward Wang Ye's punch by some kind of force. Seeing this, he widened his eyes in surprise. He then stepped back and at the same time threw something at Wang Ye. Wang Ye caught it in his hand. It was a doll. Suddenly, its eyes started spinning and emitted a strange aura. Then suddenly, its eyes burst into flames. Wang Ye immediately threw it away. After being thrown, the doll burst into a fierce blaze. The man successfully fled. Seeing this, Wang Ye thought to himself, indeed, those 10 wastelanders who come here aren't simple. Looking at his current position, he thought to himself, based on the mission route, he would soon return to the capital. Getting into the driver's seat, he said. Although he said it was unnecessary because of this type of person, it would waste time. Besides, he didn't know what would happen directly ahead. Wang Ye immediately pressed the accelerator but couldn't control his inner feelings. My human self, the car sped off, chasing after that man just now. Known for holding grudges. The alarm bell inside the car rang at this moment. Please return to the correct track. Please return to the correct track. The Thap Huang pretender fled on the empty road, muttering continuously, unlucky to run into that guy, luckily I ran fast. Suddenly, he turned his head to look at the figure chasing him. What, he's following me here too? Before these thoughts could be interrupted, a sword swiftly passed across his neck. I'm taking a risk with you. His head fell to the ground with a thud. Wang Ye looked down with cold eyes, lightly snorting. He gently touched the cut on his neck, carefully assessing it. Is the side effect of the boning knife that it slightly affects the user himself? He sat down at the table, reaching out to touch the right hand of the pretender. The first reaction of this guy was to reach into his pocket. It seems this is the treasure protecting his life. Pulling out a figurine, the corner of his mouth slightly curled up. Can this thing take hits on his behalf? Not bad. Returning to his own car, Wang Ye looked around, worried that someone might exploit a bug to find the treasure. A red line of text appeared on the window, making him annoyed, and cursed the stingy post office silently. The car once again moved along the deserted road. Finally, it's almost over. He stood in front of his house, scratching his head, exhaling a breath, finally home. Suddenly, his eyes widened as if something had caught his attention. A small hair fell at the door, quickly becoming a clue. This is the hair I stuck on the door before going out. Looks like someone has already come inside. Wang Ye's face darkened, the atmosphere tense and full of danger. He pushed the door calmly and stepped inside, alert everywhere. No one was in the house, not even a single light on. He plopped down on the sofa in the living room and laughed loudly. Looks like I was just overthinking. Suddenly, a shadow slowly appeared behind him, letting out a sinister laugh. The shadow gradually took shape, mimicking his appearance except for unusually red eyes. Then Wang Ye opened his eyes, a smug smile spreading across his lips. Can't hold it in anymore. You're willing to help me clean up the room, too. He threw the rope tied on his back toward the shadow. After tying it tightly, he couldn't help but mock. Just a demon trying to sneak up on me. A twisted smile appeared on its face, and its laugh was very eerie. This made Wang Ye both surprised and a bit curious. This rope has no effect on him. This thing is not a demon. Seeing it ignite, he shouted loudly, questioning, Who sent you? But it didn't answer. The flames grew even stronger. Gradually, the flames spread to its grotesque face. The fierce flames made Wang Ye raise his hand to shield himself. He held his nose, the unpleasant smell hitting his brain sharply. The smell of rotten meat was too strong. He stared at the spot where the demon had stood and thought, this thing tried to sneak attack, but when discovered, it set itself on fire. That means whoever controls it knows this thing can't deal with me? Don't want me to get any clue, huh? He frowned, pulling out his phone and tapping the screen a few times. Who or what is the one behind all this? As soon as he picked up the phone, a voice spoke from the other end. Have you dealt with the thing in the house yet? Yes. Ye furrowed his brows slightly, then asked quietly, How do you know? Bah. I'm the minister. If I didn't have any intelligence ability, what else could I do? He pressed his lips tightly, silently, cursing him. That sly old fox clearly knows there's an issue but didn't warn me. Is he trying to test my strength? After a moment, he calmly said with a hint of indifference, Thanks for your concern, Minister Zhang. The man cleared his throat and continued seriously. All right. Speaking of the main issue today, the Hoang Tho has a fierce demon whose energy level is leaking out and invading the city area, Trong Tu said as he recalled the terrifying scene unfolding in the city. Currently, the logistics department has sent out all 7 energy users they have, but it's still not enough to handle this situation. The story as told by him seems quite serious. Quite a few things this time have caused severe consequences. If solved, perhaps a squad's quota could be earned. Hearing that Vuong Diep quickly asked, "So you need me to handle it?" He gave the final order, advising him to prepare mentally and be ready for the crucial moment when he's needed. Naturally, he was a bit curious about this move. Why wasn't he sent there now? Trong Tu let out a light laugh carrying a hint of pride. He spoke in a low tone as if reflecting on the current scene in the city. After all, only those who appear in desperate moments are the most noble and radiant right. A slight smile appeared on his lips, his question somewhat cold. Even if a few people have to die, he not only doesn't oppose it, but even agrees with that idea. That's right. What I need is an elite squad A, not a nursing home. Looking at the pitch-black phone screen, Vuong Diep was a bit uncertain was cooperating with this cold guy the right decision from the start. Suddenly, he felt his whole body heavy, exhausted to the extreme. Then he reached out to touch the blue ribbon marked 6, muttering softly, "This thing still has a little left, but my current state isn't suitable to absorb it." He gently pulled out a thin paper that looked like a medicinal patch and applied it to his hand. Vuong Diep leaned back, closed his eyes to let it nourish his body. The aching and pain gradually eased. Indeed, this thing can prolong the body energy of an energy user. The fatigue made his eyelids heavy as if they wanted to close. After a few hours, he sat up straight, holding his head and thinking for a bit. Have I really slept this long? It's time to go to the post office to collect the reward. He gently opened the door and stepped outside with confidence. Finally, the moment to receive the reward had arrived. Seeing the thick black smoke before him made him puzzled. What is this? Oh, suddenly the black smoke approached him, causing him to exclaim in surprise. Oh! The smoke wrapped around him like ropes, tightly binding him and knocking him to the ground. Ah! The black smoke quickly enveloped Vuong Diep's entire wounded body. He clutched his neck tightly, then suddenly stopped, eyes disbelieving what was happening. Now the black smoke slowly escaped from his body. Vuong Diep immediately looked down at his 2 hands full of wounds that were now healed. He thought to himself, the wounds have all healed and the body has been strengthened. Is this the reward for becoming a demon servant? His complexion was confused as he looked at his body suspiciously. His clothes had been neatly replaced. He observed and silently praised, "It's just that this power is too overpowered." Vuong Diep stood up, and a piece of paper fell from his body. He picked it up and read every line inside the clothing on him, blocks distant curses and can be upgraded with privileges. He could use the mail carriage once a month. Vuong Diep thought, it can also enhance physical strength and block curses from afar. Although the clothes look a bit ugly, who cares? He smiled proudly at this convenient power-up. His phone vibrated, showing the familiar name Trong Tu Luong. He immediately answered, and the anxious voice of the man came through. "Hello, just now I tried calling you, but it was out of signal. What happened?" "Yes," Vuong Diep calmly replied. "I was just studying a mysterious artifact, so it might have blocked the phone signal." The man warned anxiously, "You should appear now. That thing is scarier than we thought." They couldn't hold on anymore. He reported that according to today's information, only 3 people survived. Vuong Diep's expression turned serious as he informed Trong Tu Luong, "I understand. Give me 10 minutes to prepare." He raised his hand and took out an artifact shaped like a cracked purple wooden stick. He recalled picking up this strange item in Hoang Tho before. Now it's time to use it. Vuong Diep clenched the artifact in his hand, and a wave of power with a red aura enveloped his palm. A strange, deep purple creature with blazing bright eyes full of anger opened its mouth and screamed bitterly. A golden light binding its eyes radiated around this strange creature. He grimaced uncomfortably as he felt the red power spreading gradually through his arm. He thought he could sense the force continuously gathering in his hand. The item from earlier turned into a thick red liquid dripping onto the table. He closely observed the palm of his hand. The creature's face was stuck firmly on it. He knelt to adjust some hidden equipment at his feet, then stood up confidently and stepped outside. A black car was waiting outside. The courier opened the door waiting for him to get in. Both stepped into the car. While driving, the man handed him a stack of letters and said the address was a shopping center near the city entrance of Tai Nam. Within a 1 kilometer radius, everything was sealed off. Now, all 3 surviving psychics were locked inside. Vuong Diep examined the information inside the letters and remarked, As expected, Trong Tu Luong had prepared in advance. A list of names was recorded: Trong Ham and 2 others. He thought the abilities of these 3 psychics complemented each other, making them suitable to form a squad. But he stared blankly ahead. The devil's power was certainly strong. After all, the members Trong Tu Luong arranged were now down to 3. He smirked lightly, judging that old fox must be in terrible pain wanting to log out right now. The courier beside him noticed his sudden smile and asked, "What are you laughing at?" His expression returned to serious and cold as he rested his hand on the window frame, not answering, but instead asked back, "You don't have any information about the devil, do you?" He heard the question and nervously replied, "All information about the devil is unknown." Curious about the unknown, he explained to Vuong Diep the inside status always had no signal, unable to contact the psychics. Until half an hour ago, there was a brief, very weak signal that lasted less than 10 seconds, containing only one message. A tense space with modern machinery, several men working in the control room. The large screen suddenly displayed an abnormal audio signal sequence with a huge red SOS message appearing alongside 3 names: Truong Ham Liu Tien Vuong Quang, all still alive. The car stopped at the emergency event location. Shopping center security guarded and blocked the dense crowd gathered at the entrance. The black car drove straight inside. The courier stepped out, opened the door for him, and informed him they could only take him this far. Having survived, he stepped out seriously and gave a cold thanks to the man. "Yes," Vuong Diep confidently walked inside. His expression darkened, his eyebrows nearly met. Looking inside, he thought a level 2 devil could block signals, so it was usually very difficult to transmit information. The shopping center was dark, with only a single shadow around. He criticized that the fully conscious devil was luring rescue aid, indicating this event was not simple. He stepped inside, and suddenly his gaze stopped as if he had noticed something. His eyes widened, looking ahead. Crowds of customers and some vendors were noisy and bustling. Vuong Diep took out his phone to check the time and saw 1:14 a.m. He thought, what a joke, it's early morning now. He observed the situation. People around were laughing and shopping, but their eyes were tense and faces serious. He wondered why so many things that weren't human had come to the shopping center. The faces of people he just passed turned strange, their eyes wickedly focused on him. Vuong Diep sensed someone watching and turned to look behind. He still saw people shopping normally. The vendor next to him asked, "Hello, would you like to buy some clothes?" He listened and combined it with the current situation, silently confirming that this devil wanted him to see a peaceful, normal scene. He punched the glass cabinet beside him, grabbed an axe frustratedly, thinking, "If you want everything to be perfect, then I will." He gripped the axe tightly and smashed the glass cabinet next to him, shouting that he'd destroy his efforts. The salesgirl behind still smiled and asked again, "Hello, would you like to buy some clothes?" His face showed irritation. He exhaled sharply, then gave a cold smile. A flying slap from the salesgirl earlier, shouting angrily, "Why not buy clothes?" The head fell heavily to the ground, its eyes still fixed on him. The customers from before turned back to look at him, their eyes bloodshot, groaning repeatedly. "Why are you holding an axe?" He turned back to look at them and asked, "Not playing anymore." But he laughed wickedly and said, "But I'm not done playing yet." A surge of red and black power appeared behind him. One hand gently wiped a few drops of syrup from his chin. The other held the axe as he walked toward them. Wang Ye's expression was gloomy as he asked, "Are you sure you want to stop me?" The crowd surrounding him instinctively scattered to both sides upon hearing that. He rested the axe on his shoulder, satisfied, and said, "Haha, demons with intelligence seem a bit easier to deal with." Wang Ye continued, "These stiff corpses act very slowly. There's nothing to worry about." Suddenly, he realized something and thought it wasn't right. The demon who just impersonated Zhang Han acted no differently than a normal person. He looked at the demons around him a bit stunned, wondering if their slow and sluggish behavior was deceiving him. At that moment, something was gradually approaching him. A woman in a red dress silently came forward, raising her hand to strangle him. Wang Ye immediately reacted, recognizing the danger, and swung his axe behind him. The woman's head instantly detached and rolled wildly on the ground like a coconut. The woman's head was unharmed and laughed shrill, almost like hee-hee, almost hee-hee. Another demon took advantage of his distraction and tried to attack, but was immediately turned into a Gojo version by him. It only managed to scream once. The axe came down like chopping wood right on another demon's head. Wang Ye pulled the axe out, syrup splattering, as several demons lay sprawled on the floor. After handling all of them, he let out a quiet sigh of relief. He thought to himself about how every demon he encountered so far always aimed for his head when attacking, choosing to disguise themselves to sneak up from behind. He looked at the silhouettes of other demons standing far away. The essential condition for demons to kill humans is to grab the head when not yet detected right. He looked at the demons wandering around him, seemingly harmless. Only then did he realize how terrifying it was. This kind of ability in a shopping mall would quietly and easily take everyone's life. The special ops team's death was not in vain. Wang Ye immediately jumped up and said, "Do you have any other tricks now?" He swung the axe down, splitting a demon in two like separating a pair of chopsticks. Not stopping there, he continued using the axe to slaughter other demons, turning them into versions of Eren and Goro. The axe swung back and forth continuously until Shizuo was finished. From the axe, dripping down to the ground, lay the bodies of many demons scattered around. From within, a girl with short blue hair appeared. Quietly, she asked if he was the headquarters. Just after Wang Ye asked, she immediately introduced herself, clearing her throat. "My name is Liu Xian, a metahuman in logistics, specializing in throat awakening." Wang Ye looked at them with some suspicion, wondering if they were demons. Although this name was in the information given, he still didn't believe it. He looked at her thoughtfully for a moment. Then Wang Ye pointed the axe at her and demanded she prove herself a little. Knowing he didn't trust her, Liu Xian took out a message as proof. The rescue message was sent by me. The more Liu Xian spoke, the more he found flaws in the demon realm at this level. How did she manage to send a message to this country? Liu Xian had no choice but to point to a wound on her neck to prove her power could affect electromagnetic fields briefly, but at a great cost. The wound on my throat was caused when I forcibly broke through the demon realm's electromagnetic field. After verifying they were from his side, Wang Ye immediately ordered a quick and decisive attack. Wang Qiang, who had been silent and confused, finally spoke up. "What do you mean by quick and decisive?" He looked at the corpses he had just destroyed and explained to them that this demon could control minds, change faces, and disguise as others. The simplest way to find it is to cut off its head. "All the corpses here," Wang Ye said as he smashed the emergency cabinet glass. "Without usable corpses, the demon can no longer hide." "Yes," Wang Qiang said and fully obeyed. Only Zhang Han hesitated. "This is too cruel. In this emergency situation, I don't have time to deal with this." Coldly, he said, "Whoever agrees to come with me, if not, wait here to log out." Wang Qiang decisively smashed the emergency cabinet glass just like him. He looked toward Liu Xian. The two were united and determined to follow Wang Di. As soon as the decision was made, they quickly entered the battle. A corpse saw the humans and started a count of 5, but hadn't done anything further yet. Liu Xian and Zhang Han swung their weapons, cutting the corpse into 3 pieces. Although wounded, Wang Qiang still fought with all his strength. He followed Wang Qiang's instructions, cutting off the heads of the corpses one by one. Suddenly, Wang Qiang felt a strange force behind him. Yes, Wang Di also detected the danger and turned back to observe. After confirming the threat, he decisively severed the head from the corpse. Wang Di stood there watching the battle formation. From the previous situation, he warned everyone, "Be careful. If you're not paying attention, your position might become a vulnerable spot for the corpses to ambush." Just after Wang Di spoke, a female corpse approached them. Wang Qiang saw it and felt somewhat relieved. He wiped his sweat and said, "This is the last corpse." Then, without waiting for anyone to act, Wang Qiang prepared to attack. He rushed past the corpse like a gust of wind, its head quickly severed from the body. After finishing, Wang Qiang breathed a sigh of relief, finally done. The other two couldn't help but cheer. "That's great." Suddenly, Wang Di coldly said, "Who said this is the last corpse?" Hearing Wang Di say that, Zhang Han angrily retorted furiously, "Why should we believe you?" From start to finish, he had been leading them, ready to put all suspicion on Wang Di. First he told us to work for him, now he says we have problems. Now I suspect the one with problems is you. Both Wang Qiang and Liu Xian were surprised at his attitude. Tension filled the air. Suddenly, Wang Di laughed mockingly, "Ha, you've grown up fast." He was embarrassed and immediately asked, "What do you mean?" As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Di rushed past Zhang Han like a gust of wind. Turns out he had just struck him. Wang Di sneered, "Of course I'm praising you." Even now, Zhang Han still brazenly manipulates everyone. He's the real demon, better run. As soon as he finished speaking, he collapsed amid the confusion of Liu Xian and Wang Qiang. His blood splattered on Wang Di's face. Wang Di looked at them and said meaningfully, "If your judgment is this poor, I'll start doubting Zhang Ziliang's ability to evaluate people." Hearing this insult, Wang Qiang was a bit surprised. He explained, "We've never heard of Zhang Ziliang in the mall before, so I trust you." Meanwhile, Liu Xian sighed wearily. "Yes." Wang Di looked at the person lying soaked in blood and mocked, "Are you still interested in acting now?" Only now did Zhang Han reveal his true face. He twisted his neck 180 degrees toward them and cursed, "Damn it, all of you are damnable." Wang Di stepped on him and taunted, "Scaring me. Without his substitute tools, he's just useless." Not letting Zhang Han reply, Wang Di took out his rope. Then Wang Di controlled the rope to tie him up. The rope tightened under his control. Zhang Han screamed in pain. After defeating the last demon, Liu Xian and Wang Qiang breathed a sigh of relief. The tense atmosphere also dissipated. Wang Di dragged the demon's body away joyfully, done time to finish for the day. Liu Xian helped the injured Wang Qiang outside. Watching Wang Di's departing figure, she couldn't help but wonder our team was almost wiped out. How did he handle it so easily? We didn't even know what his special ability was from start to finish. Watching Wang Ye's back as he leaves, I think to myself, who exactly is this guy, some kind of deity? Everyone outside sees him step out and immediately becomes cautious and restless. Wang Ye's face is now smeared with syrup stains, further proof of the fierce battle he just fought. The crowd suddenly shouts loudly, the demon is out. He approaches and reports to a blonde man, I am Wang Ye from the logistics department. The supernatural event has been resolved. I'm covered in syrup. You all can go handle the aftermath now. The man hears this and is delighted, then signals to cancel the alert that the person is hostile. The others happily respond, thank you for your hard work. Wang Yi carries the demon Zhang Han to the man, then reminds him, watch this demon closely. Don't let him escape your sight. The man's team then enters the building and sees bodies scattered across the floor. Everyone is horrified. Such a gruesome fate. So many bodies I feel like vomiting. Yes, after the battle, Wang Ye calmly enjoys a drink when suddenly his phone at his waist rings and he answers hello. On the other end is Zhang Zi, who smiles and asks how did it go. Seeing Zhang's call so quickly, Wang Ye thinks that Sly Fox is really quick on the uptake. Wang Ye now sits into the car and answers Zhang Zi's question, there are survivors. Wang Qiang and Liu Xian hear this and immediately turn pale. What? This is the capital I've been saving for over a year. Wang Ye continues, Wang Qiang's IQ is sufficient and he's cautious enough he makes a decent shield. Then there's Liu Xian, but he seems hesitant to talk about her. Regarding Liu Xian, Wang Yi says she has a strong will to survive, willing to give up everything for survival. Hearing this, Zhang Zi can only cover his face and reply, all right, I'll report the details to higher-ups. Finally, we have a way to fight for the squad. Both sides hang up. Wang Ye thinks after revealing everything to Zhang Ziliang, his attitude changed so fast. He might have been a talent before, but this time he didn't even say a word before giving up. Kindness is always for strangers. Finally, Wang Ye arrives home and lays down on the sofa, suddenly sensing a presence inside the house. Then Wang Ye leans down and opens the drawer in front of him. Inside is the golden bow he had obtained. Holding the bow, he softly says, I spent a lot of money to get this finely crafted, extremely powerful, if you don't want to get hit by an arrow. Then he points the bow to one side of the room and declares boldly, then come out here quickly. The room remains silent, then suddenly a knife appears out of nowhere, lunging at him. The figure in the shadows emerges, it's Chu Han. She speaks and is immediately discovered. With piercing eyes, Wang Ye questions her. Were you trying to kill me? She replies, I said I would protect by eliminating you. Both have now lowered their weapons. Chu Han continues, aren't you curious how I got in here? Hearing this, Wang Ye thinks he closed the window to awaken his brain's false awareness when he left. Then coldly replies to Chu Han, if you have nothing else, you can leave now. She approaches him with a scheming look and says, get to the point. Are you coming to scavenge or not? Hearing Chu Han, Wang Ye questions suspiciously, your body's instincts seem good, so why risk scavenging? Chu Han replies, I have very secret information. There's something valuable 10 miles east of the city at the graveyard. Hearing this, Wang Ye remains doubtful and asks, this information is hard to verify, and if there's only one item, how do we split it? Chu Han answers, what if it's a Thundersound fruit? Wang Ye hears this name for the first time, Thundersound fruit. Chu Han explains the awakening generations of the Buddha nation and ordinary people are different. The Buddha nation focuses on self-cultivation. Their body's extremely strong awakening. Any part leads to overall development. Their bodies emit golden light, naturally suppressing demons, and the Thundersound fruit allows humans to gain the same self-cultivation benefits as the Buddha clan. After learning about the value of the Thunder fruit, Wang Ye wondered how one Thunder fruit would be divided. He thought normally Thunder fruits grow near the Buddha kingdom and are occasionally sold at sky-high prices. He looked at Chu Ham, wondering if Chu Ham would be kind enough to give it to him like that. Chu Ham arrogantly crossed her arms and looked at him. The thing I want isn't the Thunder fruit. She shared the information she had received. I have exclusive info. There's a strange demon in a graveyard with a prayer bead chain and a Thunder fruit on him. The image showed a demon in human form, tattered clothes, clawed hands, wearing the chain and Thunder fruit in his jacket pocket, grinning wickedly with a terrifying thunderstorm behind him. Chu Ham pointed strongly to her head and said, the bead chain can enhance mental power, that's what I need. She explained to him, but fake mental power isn't suited for solo action. I always encounter untrustworthy people, so I always put it aside. Yes. Wang Ye cautiously frowned and asked her, So are you sure I won't play dirty? Suddenly she stepped close tightly, grabbed his arm, smiling, and replied, Even if you take the bead chain, it won't help. And since I'm fake mental power, wouldn't I sense danger? He stood frozen looking at her as if to push her away. Chu Ham teased you wouldn't have the heart to send a cute girl like me to the afterlife. He irritably pulled his arm back and said coldly, See you at the city gate at 10 tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, at the shopping center scene, everyone was carrying several demon corpses outside the stench, making everyone cover their noses. The person compiling data wrote nervously, 382 heads. How strong must the mental quality be to behead that many people? In front of him were 10 heads stacked on top of each other. Looking back at the report about Wang Ye in his hand, he admired this. Wang Ye might be a rising star. Behind someone holding a paper ran up shouting, Captain, staff, hurriedly reported. Captain, the total number of bodies is compiled. There are 381 headless bodies. He was puzzled by 381 holding 2 datasheets to compare. The captain asked if it was a mistake. The man next to him answered no. Everyone checked several times already. We've never made a mistake before. His face turned serious as he examined the paper. Based on Wang Qiang and Liu Xian's words, probably each head corresponds to one person. But why is one body missing a head? He quickly took out his phone and called the headquarters. I have important info to report. Cut to another scene. Someone is ringing the doorbell outside. Wang Ye immediately went to open. He looked surprised at the person in front of him. The staff member from earlier, now with a frightened face holding a rope, said to Wang Ye, This is the rope you left earlier. The captain told me to bring it here. He handed it back, then the staff immediately ran away. Wang Ye's face darkened as he watched him run, thinking, Why is this guy so strange? Am I really that scared? He frowned and answered the phone. On the other side was Chu Ham saying, Brother, let's go. I'm waiting at the city gate. He put the rope behind him. Everything was ready, so they set off. Wang Ye walked down a deserted street. A woman's shadow was hiding behind him, watching him. The face revealed was the demoness smiling smugly. Scene shifts to Shangjing City. The sky beside the city was pitch black. At the city gate, the crowd coming and going grew denser by the minute. Chu Ham waited so long, she complained, Brother, you're so slow. Wang Ye calmly walked on and reminded her, Let's go, Sun Qian. After checking and verifying information, he told him, Identity confirmed, take your time. After walking a bit inside, he asked Chu Ham, Do you have a map? She answered indifferently and confidently, The graveyard, easy to find. Time passed slowly but tensely. An hour later, a bald head suddenly appeared on the floor, eyes rolled back, lying alone, looking very scary. They also found nearby a headless demon sitting upright. He slowly walked over to observe and said, I'm far from believing you. After just 1 hour outside, you've already met 3 demons. She smiled faintly and awkwardly said, Isn't this quite lucky? Moreover, until now I still haven't used my supernatural ability. Wang Diep's eyes gazed distantly ahead, unable to hide his sorrowful thoughts. Although the process was quite arduous, it has finally arrived. Then he fidgeted, looking around, and asked her curiously, Where exactly did you say that demon is? Chu Ham was silent for a few seconds, lightly stroking her chin, her voice full of contemplation as she said, Perhaps. Suddenly she raised her head high and spoke her premonition, Maybe at the center of the graveyard. Without another word, Wang Diep coldly stepped forward and left in one go. Chu Ham could only silently follow behind. Standing among the old decayed graves, his heart couldn't help but stir with curiosity. He bent down, gently knelt, and carefully picked up a broken piece of tombstone. After inspecting it, Wang Diep was shocked to realize that the tombstone material was the same as the graves in the outskirts of Destiny City. Why was it related to that place? Then he stood up and said in a disappointed tone, No more energy left. Suddenly he thought to himself, The fragments suppress demons, but how many have managed to escape now? Wang Diep turned to look at Chu Ham and decisively declared, 1 hour. Whether we find the demon carrying the Lei Yin fruit or not, I will leave. She helplessly replied, Got it, no choice. I'll have to use some more supernatural power then. With that, she raised her hand to her lips and began to cast a spell. In moments, a mystical magic circle gradually appeared beneath Chu Ham's feet, with waves of light rapidly spreading outward. Then she immediately sensed a signal and hurriedly reported, "I found it 300 meters south." Upon hearing this, Wang Diep didn't hesitate and dashed off quickly. "Let's go!" She hadn't even reacted yet, standing dazed behind and watching his retreating figure delve deeper into the graveyard. At that moment, he suddenly noticed a strange figure standing in a corner there. Chu Ham was not surprised or scared. Instead, she calmly chanted a spell. Under her control, a glowing sword shot straight toward the red glowing eyes of that being. As predicted, a loud pop echoed from the face of the supernatural being. Wang Diep was astonished and exclaimed in disbelief, "What?" Unease and anxiety welled up inside him. He froze, thinking, most demons need to rely on a human body to act, but how can a human body be that strong? He tensed and stared fixedly at that figure, silently speculating. The person awakened, but soon that thought was dismissed. Wang Diep carefully considered and suddenly realized, but this outfit is obviously from before Eternal Night. Could it be that fake supernatural powers existed even before Eternal Night? Suddenly the demon shouted loudly. Wang Diep's mind flashed with a thought. It seems the rule hasn't been activated yet. Taking advantage of the demon's human form's vulnerability, he threw one end of a rope to Chu Ham, who was hovering in the air. Receiving the rope, Chu Ham immediately understood his intention. Both of them thought simultaneously, tie it up. She quickly grabbed the rope's end and flew toward the demon while Wang Diep quickly followed behind her. Then the two managed to tie the demon up. Chu Ham smiled proudly as she pulled the rope tight together with Wang Diep to restrain the demon. He turned to ask her, "Success. Great." Chu Ham praised happily as she looked at the tightly bound demon. "Your rope is really powerful." However, they could only restrain it temporarily. The demon began to move and was trying to break free from the rope. Seeing the danger, Wang Diep immediately shouted, "Step back!" He anxiously wondered, has the rope lost its power? Just as Wang Diep thought, his rope lost its effectiveness, becoming loose and allowing the demon to easily slip free. Seeing this, Chu Ham tensed up anxiously and wondered why her body couldn't move anymore, because the glowing ring on the demon's hand was activating. She had already noticed it, but it was too late. The demon immediately struck her forehead and then withdrew its hand. Blood poured heavily from a deep wound on Chu Ham's forehead from the blow. Her face shocked, she only had time to cry out, "Oh!" Then her whole body collapsed onto the ground. Wang Diep tensely watched the demon approach Chu Ham along with her screams, "Aha!" He looked down at this ground and realized it was just a shadow. He was trying to lift Chu Ham's body. The moment he saw the shadow pull out a knife aimed at Chu Ham, he quickly activated his supernatural power to save her. Wang Diep shouted angrily, "Damn it, can't use supernatural powers!" He frowned, extending his hand forward, using his power to suppress the demon. Finally, when the demon was suppressed and frozen in place, Wang Diep quickly carried Chu Ham and ran away. He looked at Chu Ham's expressionless face and said irritably, "Are you stupid?" Before she could finish speaking, Wang Diep sensed something and turned to look at the demon smiling behind him, wondering if the demon was binding the shadow. Hesitating briefly, he gritted his teeth and pulled out a knife. One hand still holding Chu Ham, the other wielding the knife, he resolutely stabbed hard at the shadow beneath the demon's feet. In pain, the demon screamed miserably, staring intently at Wang Diep holding Chu Ham. She was stunned by what was happening before her eyes. Chu Ham worriedly turned to ask Wang Diep, "Are you okay?" He held his chest with one hand, panting heavily, thinking the side effects of stabbing along the bone were too strong. Wang Diep pushed off his thigh and stood up, saying, "Now's not the time for empty words. We have to find a way to deal with it. If we can't handle it, then we abandon this plan." Chu Ham immediately responded, "All right." She began to use her power. Glowing strands appeared around her body, floating up. The strands were controlled to wrap around the demon. Chu Ham immediately said, "Hurry and get the stuff, I can only suppress it for 10 seconds. He immediately ran toward the demon. Seeing it trembling, he instantly lunged forward and reached into the demon's pocket to grab the glowing object. He pulled out the glowing pear-shaped object. At the same time, a bead chain appeared on the demon's hand. He noticed something peeking out from the demon's pocket and thought to himself, "This must be." Wang Diep immediately took out a small piece of paper from that pocket. Chu Ham behind him urged quickly, saying she was about to collapse. He turned his head and ran back toward her, not forgetting to reply, "Got it." When reaching her limit, Chu Ham grew weaker and lost her balance. He immediately ran over and lightly jumped to catch Chu Ham as she fell. Wang Diep held her safely as they landed. The demon clasped its hands and screamed, "Ah!" The shadow beneath it began to stretch and move toward the two of them. Seeing the dark shadow approaching, Wang Diep jumped up to dodge while still holding her. He quickly threw a tumbling doll down below. The doll hit the ground and immediately burst into bright red flames, flickering in the darkness. The demon stood frozen, staring at the growing fire in front of it, stunned and unsure what to do next. At that moment, a sorceress appeared from behind and placed her hand on the demon's shoulder. Caught off guard, the demon was grabbed tightly by the sorceress, who pulled the shadow on the ground upward. The demon screamed miserably, "Ah!" She grabbed the shadow at its feet and pulled it up as if holding 2 strands of rope. The sorceress's eyes widened. Her pupils shrank, revealing bloodshot whites, and her tongue stuck out frighteningly. The demon immediately collapsed to the ground before her, its eyes darkened. Something flickered and flew out from the demon in the deserted forest. Vung Gip and Chu Ham tried to steady their breathing. She wiped the sweat streaming down her face and struggled to say, "Little brother, I knew you wouldn't abandon me." He frowned, looking at her with a warning glance. "Honestly, I really want to kill you." Her intelligence system suddenly activated. She reached her hand out to him and made a decisive request. "Forget my information. Haven't you already got the thunder sound fruit and the bead?" He cooperated well and handed it over, even advising her to rest a bit before heading back, as it probably wouldn't be easy. The slender hand released the bead, which fell into Chu Ham's hand. In a moment, some syrup dripped to the ground for unclear reasons. Frowning tightly, Vung Deep assessed the place with some discomfort. Indeed, this wild land is not a place just anyone can come to. She was very friendly, but put her middle finger in front of him as if scolding someone. At least those who tried their best have the right to say this. On the way, he didn't even dare to use his powers, afraid of meeting the king of hell like that. However, in response, he let out a cold, indifferent laugh. "Ha-ha, ignorant." Chu Ham couldn't help but sigh softly, full of frustration. The scene shifts to daytime in a bustling city. "This is our first cooperation, and I hope it's the last." Without waiting for her reply, he decisively turned and left. "That's right. I've sealed the windows tight, so forget about sneaking into someone else's house to cause trouble." However, he didn't know that she was now letting out a seductive laugh. "Ha ha." Then Vuong Diep opened the door, his face showing extreme boredom. "Annoying, can you stop?" Chu Ham just stood opposite, smiling brightly and waving goodbye. "From today on, I will be your new neighbor." His lips twitched slightly as he silently thought maybe he should consider moving. The scene shifts again. The demoness is now standing on the street wearing a strange smile, her eyes staring into the distance. Suddenly, she turned around calmly and walked away. The sound of her high heels echoed step by step down the stairs in the quiet space. Vuong Deep was now holding his head exhausted, as if freed from chains. Finally, that crazy woman Chu Ham was gone. Suddenly, he reached into his pocket and took out the thunder fruit he had collected from the mission with her. His eyes sparkled lightly with joy mixed with anticipation. All the effort will pay off with results. Bringing the thunder fruit to his mouth, Vuong Deep bit off a large piece. A golden aura spread and enveloped the entire space. The light extended even outside his room's door where the demoness stood. She widened her eyes, unable to believe what was happening. A strong tremor intensified the light, forcing her to quickly step aside. Inside, Vuong Deep calmly absorbed the fruit, carefully feeling if this was really the thunder fruit. Unlike the forced infusion from the post office, this energy was relatively gentle. This made him smile in amazement, clearly feeling his body's energy strengthened. After finishing, he wearily leaned back on the sofa and sighed. Just then, the phone rang, breaking the silence. Trong Tu Luong was at Vuong Deep's house, lying tiredly on the couch. He picked up the phone and said, "Hello, Tu Luong." On the other end, someone called him to attend a meeting at headquarters. He resisted a bit and replied, "Does the logistics department's meeting need me too? I'm a bit tired today." The man said it was important the headquarters meeting involved forming a roster team. Vuong Deep was surprised after hearing this. He quickly regained seriousness, stood up, and said, "Wait for me." Shortly after, he finished dressing and prepared to go out. He reached to open the door, but suddenly frowned upon seeing the situation outside. Yes. Vuong Deep carefully held his knife and stepped back from the door. At that moment, the demoness was standing there waiting for him. He looked at her strange condition with concern. "What is this?" Vuong Deep gritted his teeth and muttered, "She should have been sealed in room 404 by now." He looked at the demoness standing still and quickly calculated mentally without reacting. Could she still be sealed? But why did she appear at his door, relying on consciousness? Yes. Vuong Deep took out his phone and dialed a number. "I have a solution." When the call connected, he urgently said, "Hello, come to my house, there's something." Immediately after, Chu Ham smashed the door and came outside. She shouted loudly, "Wang Ye, what are you doing? Do you take me for a maid?" Wang Ye calmly held a knife pointed at the demoness appearing at the door and said, "Nothing, I just wanted to introduce you to a new neighbor." Chu Han was surprised when she saw the demoness. She quickly stepped back a good distance while controlling flying knives above her head cautiously, and said, "Wang Ye, your grandfather dares to trick me." He silently evaluated that Chu Han could simultaneously control 5 knives, which indeed showed she had strengthened her mental power. He calmly replied, "I am taking you to meet the new neighbor to say hello." The demoness then turned toward Chu Han and waved as a greeting. Wang Ye and Chu Han were surprised at this scene. He frowned in doubt. "I was just joking about saying hello, didn't expect this woman to actually follow through." Chu Han trembled slightly. "I won't dissect you anymore. Can you tell her not to stare at me like that?" In her heart, she was scared. What kind of demon is this? Obeying Wang Ye's words, she took a step forward to test me. He was still wondering, could this woman really follow my orders? But the demoness did obey. She quickly stepped forward and then turned to glare at Wang Ye. The demoness tilted her head slightly, her hollow eyes staring at him. Vuong Deep looked at the demon girl in front of him, continuously calculating in his head, "If I can control her, then in a short time I can definitely gain the top combat strength in Shangjing City." He clenched his hands tightly, worriedly, thinking further. Although it might be dangerous, he paused for a moment, and then encouraged himself. But it's worth the gamble. Vuong Diep turned to Chu Ham and said, "Chu Ham, lend me your hat." She looked confused and asked, "For what?" He pointed to the nail carved on the demon girl's skull and explained, "Cover what's on her head. I'm afraid it might scare others." Hearing this, Chu Ham turned and opened the door, then threw a pink bunny ear hat into his hand. He placed the hat on the demon girl's head and said, "To avoid trouble, let's just call her Xiao Si." The 404 building's headquarters of the Heavenly Clan towered high, its glass reflecting countless shades of the human world. Vuong Deep led Xiao Si inside, observing around to see no one noticed anything unusual. Slightly surprised, he thought, "No one noticed I brought a demon to the headquarters meeting." He smoothly walked through the lobby to a certain room and raised his hand to open the door. Everyone heard the noise and turned around. Seeing Vuong Diep, they kept their eyes on him. In the corner of the room, 2 people were sitting on a sofa. Seeing him, a pink-haired girl happily stood up, waved at him, and called out, "Come sit over here." Vuong Deep followed the call and guessed, "If nothing unexpected happens, these must be 2 members arranged for me by Zhang Ziliang. Getting a little close won't be a problem." After thinking this, he led Xiao Si closer to the 2 people to socialize. The short, pink-haired girl saw Xiao Si and asked in surprise, "Is this Vuong Chit?" Sitting down on the sofa and hearing the question, he answered, "This is my friend." Though inwardly, he thought, if this friend wakes up and doesn't beat me to a pulp. Outside, a surprised voice cut off his thoughts. "Oh, it's Chu Ham." He turned toward the voice and saw her arrogantly standing at the door, twirling a lock of hair. Seeing that everyone had noticed her, she smiled and slowly stepped inside. Vuong Deep immediately exclaimed, "That crazy woman has arrived." A young man wearing a shirt and bright red tie with slicked-back handsome hair stepped forward holding a glass of wine and greeted Zhao Ham, "Long time no see." Expecting a returned greeting that would open a nice conversation, but life is not a dream. She didn't even raise an eyelid, continued walking to where Vuong Diep sat, climbed onto the sofa, and called his name, Vuong Diep. Ignored by Chu Ham, Vuong Deep saw this and angrily crushed his wine glass, ignoring her. She sat down next to him and looked at Xiao Si, saying, Hey, I've thought it through. Even though you have her, I will still persist and not give up." Everyone in the room eagerly listened, shocked by her words, looking toward the 3 of them. Vuong Chit was annoyed and thought, "Does this crazy woman not realize she's causing others to misunderstand?" The man in the red tie got angry hearing Chu Ham and became even more furious, angrily pointing his index finger at Vuong Deep and shouting, "Get lost! I want to sit here." A male member of Zhang Ziliang's group came over, whispered into Vuong Diep's ear, "This guy's name is Tu Van Keem, a level 2 second awakening psychic, a strong candidate for team leader this time." Vuong Deep frowned, hearing this, judged him impatiently, then ordered Xiao Si, "Xiao Si, I don't want to listen to him anymore." Hearing this, Xiao Si's eyes immediately sharpened, a red flash appeared, and she turned to To Van Keem, raising her hand. He didn't expect Vuong Diep to say that, panicked and furrowed his brows tightly. But before he could react, Xiao Si's slap made his cheeks swell. Syrup sprayed from his mouth, and he fell down in pain. Just one slap brought down a strong candidate for team leader. Vuong Chit didn't expect this situation. Her mouth stiffened, and she remarked with difficulty, "We only wanted to test Xiao Si's ability, didn't expect such a fierce attack." To Van Keem looked painful. His knees buckled, gathered strength in his ankle, his eyes blazing with anger and killing intent as he charged towards Xiao Si. She simply lightly swung her hand to counter his attack, immediately knocking him back. Vuong Deep silently witnessed everything and thought with exasperation, "This idiot better not open his mouth again." Van Keem's face was bruised, but he still shouted arrogantly, "I'll deal with Xiao Si." Decisively, he kicked straight at his face, choosing the strike to knock him out completely. After finishing, Xiao Si silently stepped lightly to stand behind Vuong Diep. He turned his head to look at Chu Ham, who was frowning in displeasure. "Chu Ham, next time use me as a shield carefully like that guy." A bald man, watching from afar, suddenly spoke. "Are you confident to fight that woman?" The man sitting beside him furrowed his brow cautiously. "Hard to say, her body is stronger than mine." The woman laughed out loud upon hearing that even the famous diamond has moments of surrender. Suddenly, the door separating everyone from the secret meeting room slowly opened Li Tin-ha, and the solemn ministers stepped out. "Yes." Vung Kung quietly reported each detail to him from behind. "This old man is the team leader of our heavenly organization." Li Ting-ha heard that he is also a superhuman, but his power is unclear. His gaze swept over two middle-aged men. The one laughing loudly is Minister Manhua of the Intelligence Department. Don't be fooled by his friendly demeanor, he's very cunning. The one with a birthmark on his face is Action Minister To Trung Tan. To Van Kim, the one you just hit, is his son. He continued to look straight at them and asked, "What about that woman?" "She is a demon. A woman with blonde hair tied neatly, standing upright. Her name is Trung Hugh, responsible for the Heavenly Organization's experimental projects. Known as a unique genius, she spends every day in the lab, but her experimental targets are always Demon Lord Kung." He poured out everything he knew in one go. "Most of the demons we suppress are sent to the lab. Many have heard. Laquise screams coming from the lab, but her sacrifice was immense. That light curtain over our city is her masterpiece. Without it, our city would be no different than Huang Tho." His expression suddenly turned serious. His eyes hardened. "Speaking of Huang Tho, I seem to have forgotten something. Before we found a note on a demon's body in Huang Tho, but were too busy to check it." Everyone was present, sitting around the round table. "All right, let's start the meeting." His eyes were cold as ice, carefully assessing the situation, although the participants were all experts. Many superhumans weren't interested in forming a squad. Vung Deep's expression was emotionless as he silently thought, "Except for a few key team leader positions, most have already been quietly arranged." Suddenly, Trung Tun's assistant leaned close to his ear and whispered something. He immediately changed expression. His voice deepened as he ordered Wake Von Keem up. The assistant quickly ran over to shake Von Keem. Wake up now." "Oh." Tutu's eyelids twitched slightly, her expression flickering. She rushed quickly to Von Keem and slapped him hard across the face. Seeing this, Vung Diep could only sigh and watch, forgetting to change her orders. Then a murderous glare came from the opposite side. Trung Tun snapped, "Young man, are you provoking me?"